Hey-o.
Quick check here.
Hello, hello.
I'm dead.
No, you're not.
I'm dead, dude.
I'm dead.
No, we don't see you.
Okay.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
not dead.
I'm not
Hello,
dead.
hello,
We
hello.
have a stupid thing over
There
here.
it
No
is.
one's dead.
No one's dead. We're
We're
alive.
Fuck, that was embarrassing.
I don't know how to get this.
So anyway,
I don't know
fuck
where
this
shit
movie.
Came from. Yeah.
Yeah, hey.
Fucking fuck movies. Hello to our listener that is listening preemptively.
Yeah.
Hi, Queen.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Got some movies to talk about.
we do have some movies to talk about.
we have
Some
introductions
American classics.
They are.
But first we have
Italian American classics.
Yeah.
yeah, indeed.
Oh,
Oh, no.
Goodness.
my god.
goodness.
It's the best. It's the best podcast ever. Anyway, to my left we have the man who watched too much, Reese Anweiler.
Hey.
Ew.
To my right we have the man we all call JB. He's too old to be cool.
This new thing. This new thing.
Mr. John Brown.
That is me.
Mr.
The new thing,
JB.
but only during the podcast.
MCJB.
And I need no introduction. So what have you guys been watching?
I got some good stuff this week. You want me to take this?
Yeah.
Start off this
I
week?
I have
Chris, or
almost
You
nothing.
wanna start off?
You go ahead and start off.
All right.
I don't feel like talking right this very second.
So I had,
Oh, wow.
I had
Great mood in our podcast.
Yeah. So first
your replacement
thing
is being interviewed.
I had to talk about was a movie called Crime Wave, which is directed by Sam Raimi, but written by Sam Raimi and the Coen brothers.
Oh.
And apparently starring the Coen brothers somewhere in there, but I couldn't recognize them because I've never seen them before, especially in fucking 1986 when this movie was made.
They kind of look exactly how you'd think they'd look.
Yeah. If I see them,
Like a
that'll
bluegrass duo. That's what I expect.
Like two Jewish brothers.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
So this is Ethan Coen.
Mm.
And this is Joel Coen.
Okay.
That's
One
not
of them. One of them could have maybe been the lead in this movie. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Because there was a skinny little dweeby guy.
Okay, yeah.
So it could have totally been
either one of
those.
them could have been that guy.
Yeah.
Hey, Google the Coens and then Google the lead of Crime Wave and,
Yeah.
and make your own decision.
All right.
Okay.
So it was pretty fun. I found it because I wanted to watch a Coen Brothers movie with the kids, and then this popped up, and I looked at it, and I'm like, that doesn't seem like a Coen movie. And then I brought it up, and I'm like, oh, it's the Sam Raimi movie. But he wrote it with the Coen brothers. And it was probably more Sam Raimi than Coen, I guess.
Yeah.
It was super fucking wacky, super over the top, but
Yeah, that's
it was a lot of fun. It was a fun watch. It's basically this business is like splitting up. One person wants to sell it, one person wants to keep it. Guy that wants to keep it orders a hit on the guy that wants to sell it. Hitmen kill both of them because they're basically like fucking maniacal cartoon characters, and then the lead gets kind of wrapped up in the bullshit along the way. And yeah, it's got Bruce Campbell in it, of course. You know,
of course.
His stuff's pretty funny because he's just like this wannabe fucking suave guy that's just a heel that's just trying to pick up these chicks that he's just like just doesn't work. But yeah, no, it was fun. Super prolonged fucking fight scenes on top of a moving vehicle type shit. You know, just like as
Fun.
wacky as you could get. It was fun though. It was totally worth a watch. It's just you know me. I love 80s wacky bullshit.
Yeah.
So check that out if you want just a good
That would
time.
be before the Coens directed anything, right?
I
I don't think they directed to the 90s,
I
did
think
they?
so.
Yeah, check this out.
Man, that beer is lemony. All right. After that, I watched Titan AE from, I think it was 2000 that it was made.
Right
Sounds
around there,
correct.
yeah.
What is that? I knew the guy's name.
Uh,
He's done a million animated flicks.
yeah.
Um,
Bluth? No.
Bluth. Yeah.
Is it Bluth? Don Bluth?
Yeah. Don
Yeah.
Bluth. Yep. Same guy did All Dogs Go to Heaven, did the old 70s Robin Hood. Could immediately tell, like, when we started watching.
Yeah,
It's like, oh, yeah, it's this dude.
his like big cheeks.
Yeah,
He has
his
great
facial
big
features
cheeks.
are, like, on point every single time. The way the
Yeah.
mouths move,
Yeah.
like, there's just the motion of
It's
each
got
character.
like they're kind of like spilling out of something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, very animated. Every character
Yeah.
is super animated. But yeah, it was a really cool movie. I remember it being good. Kept thinking about it, kept forgetting about it, and then I was tattooing on somebody one day, and they mentioned it. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking watch that tonight, and it was satisfying.
Yeah.
I feel
good
like
voice
like that's a movie I've seen,
You probably have.
and like I just don't remember.
I'm
it very
sure
well.
you saw it in your Blockbuster days. It
Yeah,
was-
Yeah, it would have been playing.
it was
for
around
sure in
because
those
I
days.
remember I always put it with Atlantis. I feel like I saw
Yeah.
Atlantis around the same time I saw it,
I think
And, like,
Atlantis
I-
came out after.
and I
but-
really liked Atlantis. Also, couldn't tell you a single thing
Yeah.
about Atlantis other than I liked it, and I kind of saw these movies like kind of back to back, and I remember liking Atlantis more than Titan AE.
Yeah.
Yeah, that all
Outside
checks
of
out.
that, that's not really anything.
No, it's a very solid movie. I really enjoyed the animations and pretty cool stuff as far as sci-fi goes. Does a good job at not needing to set too much up, but sets it up enough.
Pretty
Great
crazy cast.
Yeah, great cast. Fucking awesome cast. But yeah,
It looks, yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been maybe more successful because I mean, I saw it as a kid, so I'm assuming it's PG.
it is. But it's definitely adult enough. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
that era of animation and before where it's like it is PG, but yeah, it's
I feel like if
pretty
they put
adult.
boobs in it, I would remember it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if it would be, if would have gotten a little bit better reception if it had been a little more adult.
Oh, I think it probably would have, but I mean that Don Bluth stuff has always been.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think
It's
probably
definitely
what
his
what
most
hindered
adult
this
movie.
was that it was trying to breach into that and didn't go hard enough.
Yeah.
So it was like not kiddie enough for kids and not adult enough for adults. But
Yeah.
all in all, I
That
thought
is a
it was,
mistake. That
yeah.
is a trap that
Yeah.
you have to balance for sure.
I do think overall it was super satisfying. The only thing I think would be any degree of a negative is like I think they could have made better song choices.
Very of the time song choices.
Yeah, very much. And they worked well enough, but like there were cooler songs at the time that they could have.
I think
done.
there's a Smash Mouth song in that
There
soundtrack.
has got to be, yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah.
Speaking of Don Bluth, have you guys seen The Secret of Nim?
Oh, it's fucking awesome.
That movie's great.
Yeah, no, it's fucking fantastic.
I haven't
dude.
seen it. Is it about like mice or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, the
Oh, perfect time to watch it for Bloomborough.
fucking All Dogs Go to Heaven is.
I haven't
Amazing.
seen that one in so long.
Dude,
I don't
it's
even
so
remember.
good. I just watched it a couple
Yeah.
years
I
ago.
feel like
It's
I need to
fucking
watch
fantastic.
All Dogs Go to Heaven because that's like the fourth time in the
Dude,
last 2 weeks that you've like.
It's so good. It's so
I
good.
feel like you watched Titan AE and all you've wanted to do is watch.
You watch All Dogs Go to Heaven, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's tempting. The animation is gorgeous. It's a great story. I still love the only Disney thing I really like a whole lot. One of the few Disney things I like a lot is the original is that Robin Hood from the 70s. I
Yeah.
love that movie too.
Okay, can I tell you why I might have seen All Dogs Go to Heaven, but at this point I'm going to say that I haven't because I don't remember it.
Right.
But I can tell you right now why this movie is a failure. And it's the title. Because nobody wants to see a movie where you're already promising that dogs are going to die. You know?
I think the plot is he dies. Like he dies in the first.
yeah,
like, 10
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
No,
I
that
know
movie
that from the title
I think that
he
movie was a
dies.
success. Titan AE
They got 2 sequels.
was Titan AE.
But you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like that is a hard sell for people. Like
It
Yeah.
is.
No, I think that one was actually one of the more successful ones. Titan AE was the last of like 4 movies that just bombed ass, and I think from what I read online, after Titan AE, Fox just like closed their animation studio because it went so poorly
Yeah.
after Titan AE, which It's a shame, but
Yeah.
So I think it's a good flick. If you like sci-fi, if you like animated stuff, if you like Don Bluth, it's still good.
Regardless of story, it definitely has some really fun and interesting sci-fi themes and ideas.
The sci-fi story that it has is pretty typical of a sci-fi story, but I think the execution is really cool. The illustration of some of the classic sci-fi elements in the movie are really cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's good. Next up, I rewatched Warcraft, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I enjoyed it when it came out, and I've known a lot of people shit on that movie. And on the rewatch, I still couldn't find anything to shit on or not like. I thought it was very fucking solid. I've been watching Preacher, and I thought it was hilarious that the king and his queen were Jesse and Tulip from Preacher. I'm like, oh, that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It seems random as shit, but all right. One of these things.
It's probably not that random.
Right. Well, no, I'm not their pairing. I'm just saying, like, going from Preacher to that or that to Preacher, one or the other.
I need to stop you for a second because I also have been on this bus of that movie wasn't that bad. Like, like that movie got like absolutely crushed, and to the point where I think it was supposed to be like probably like a trilogy or an epic or whatever, and like. The first movie did so poorly. Let me take that back. The first movie did so poorly in the United States that it never got like a follow up.
Right.
And I think I've seen the movie 2 or 3 times at this point, and I kind of agree with you. It's like, I mean, it's not an Orson Welles film. I mean, it's not like one of the greatest movies of all time. But for a fantasy,
it's an epic
film,
sci-fi or it's an epic fantasy adventure movie.
I have to think that a lot of the hate comes from the fact that it's, adapted from a very popular video game, and if you don't get the adaptation right, you get a lot of pissed off gamers that don't like the movie, and they spoil your reviews. You know what I'm saying? For me,
I am a huge Warcraft RTS fan. So Warcraft 1, 2, 3, love those games to death. Played Warcraft 2, can't even tell you how much I played that game. And from that perspective, I thought they fucking killed it. I thought it was fantastic that they worked so much on telling both sides of the story, because that's part of those games is you play as one or the other camp. Yeah. I thought that was good. I thought they did a lot of really cool homages in the movie to it being an RTS. So it's like the war room, the topographical map, when they were zooming through like the damage happening across the terrain, like this conflict, and zoom over to this conflict, and zoom over to this building being built, and like when they do roll up on the gate at the end of the movie, like showing the expanse of like how much terrain had been like torn down and built into this new thing, like all those things for the RTS fan of Warcraft that I am, I thought was just like right on the fucking money. So I always assumed it was WoW guys that were like, fuck this shit. I have not played any WoW.
I have no connection to WoW. I just remember being very put off by how I thought the movie looked ugly, because if it had been fully animated, I think it would have looked pretty great.
See, dude, that's where I totally disagree. I don't think that there's anything to take away from the movie visually. Like, I was watching it and I was thoroughly impressed.
Yeah, I saw it on the big screen, and I don't remember the negativity that I've heard.
I do get like just going ahead, like the perspective of just make it all animated, because there's already so much animation.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of CGI.
Feel like I feel like they did a good job of blending it. Like to me it felt kind of like Starship Troopers, where like they could have made a lot of things CGI that they didn't, and it probably would have been passable, but also like, I think it can work. I think it can be fine. So I don't have anything visually to take away.
I remember,
though I can appreciate that.
Yeah,
that was your hang up.
I remember talking to my wife coming out of the theater, and I was like, "Is it kind of weird that like I found myself slightly attracted to the main orc chick?" She's
I mean, she was humanoid,
and she's like,
she was very
that's
human.
pretty weird. You should probably talk to somebody, not me, about that.
Yeah. She just had some tusks. That's all.
Yeah, you can get those fake tusks. Put those in.
I wanted to nibble on her tusks.
Yeah. No, overall, like, I was a huge fan of the franchise. I thought the storytelling was pretty solid. Like, some of it was a bit So some of it was for sure probably melodramatic, but again, it's a fantasy epic.
Is that what the female orcs look like in the games? Are they that different in size? Because I think that was a big gripe on my part too.
I think she was the only one that was really that much. Well, I think some of they didn't show very many female orcs. They just showed I think 2 or 3 others aside from her. I assumed that she was more of a like halfling, but I guess technically I don't think she was actually. Now I think back. No, I mean that's a fair gripe, but I think they probably did that because they were trying to create this like love interest.
Yeah.
But so Warcraft 1 through 3 is super, and I don't know about WoW again, but they're super stylized. So I don't know. I can't really recall exactly how female orcs were presented in the games. Because in the RTS ones, of course, you're like looking at very small things, and bits of artwork. But
and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? Because like we're in the business of judging the movie as a whole based on the art of the film, not necessarily the adaptation.
Right,
quality.
right.
And that I know. I always just kind of thought in the back of my mind like. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it's a good, like a decent movie.
Yeah, I think it's a solid. For
I
what
think
it
it's
is,
a
I think it's
solid
solid.
movie.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that it's gotten taken down a few notches because it wasn't wow enough. You know, that was always my takeaway because I didn't see what the other negatives were.
It does make like that's a fair point to make that the orc females seem a little small, but I don't remember how it's presented in the games, and like like there's plenty of other things where one side of a species is so much different than another. Like
it's just that is kind of a gripe of mine in some amount of fantasy world building where you like make the man the male of the species be like hyper grotesquely masculine,
right,
and then you make the female be like super sexually attractive to humans, which doesn't then make sense.
And I think they did it specifically.
I mean, have you ever seen Russian people? Like, I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility.
I think they dialed it up a lot for the main orc chick, because the other chicks, even though they may have been the same size, were much less pretty.
Yeah,
and she had a lot more screen time, and so I think that's a fair criticism for sure. If you dial this one thing up just for the sake of this one narrative and dialogue in the story, but I mean, at least they did have the other orc women that were presented not be that.
I don't feel too equipped to talk about it in much because I honestly don't remember much about it. I gave it a 1 out of 5 on Letterboxd.
See, I think it's way better than that for sure.
I don't really remember much.
I think it's more of a 2.5.
Yeah,
I think
that's the average on Letterboxd as a 2.5.
I think it's an average movie. I think it's an average movie.
I don't think it's a movie that deserved to be shit on.
Yeah, that was my own point. I'm not trying to say the movie's good. I'm just trying to say that like the movie wasn't like an abortion, which is what they make it out.
I'll say the movie's good as per my tastes, but it's definitely a palate thing. If you don't like epic fantasy adventure shit, you're probably not going to like this movie a whole lot. But if you do, which I do, I thought it was fucking cool.
I enjoyed it well enough. My wife enjoyed it well enough. I mean,
I was also,
and there's a bunch of disparity. There's a bunch of differences in the orc males too, because the one guy is like much smaller than the other orc. So there is a lot of variety in orcs themselves. I'll point that out as far as our size conversation.
I know it was also a disappointment from the director Duncan Jones to me, because he did Moon and Source Code, and those are like 2 of my favorite sci-fi movies. And then I was very underwhelmed.
Yeah, Source Code. I brought up last episode.
But so my opinion of the movie is that it's solid for what it is. I think it's exactly what it was supposed to be. As a fan of the franchise,
I do also want to point out, I do remember that it was much more well received outside of the United States.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much any kind of giant sci-fi epic is going to do well.
Yeah,
it's like Mad Max, Transformers. You know,
I know a great example is the what's the Alita Battle Angel. I know that did really well overseas and like
but that's like a thing with animation in general, because like I mean, Japan, what their biggest export is anime. It's not like a kid thing there. And so much people have like, oh, it's animated, it's for babies in America, and it's so dumb and antiquated and makes no sense.
And so much of Japanese animation is like, oh no, do not show that to a child. Never show that to a child.
Probably don't show it to anybody.
yeah, you're probably gonna walk away from this feeling kind of weird. Just so you know, maybe you don't want to watch.
Not bad, but weird.
Yeah. All right, so. And then I told you guys the other night I watched the original House on Haunted Hill for the first time. Solid, old school horror flick.
So, is there a connection between the House on Haunted Hill and the Haunting of Hill House?
I don't. Well, I mean,
are they two different things completely?
No, they're two different things. But I mean, there may have been some liberty, like some inspiration.
Yeah,
I could maybe see some because. So I remember.
I'm just gonna throw this out here. I think the answer is kind of yes, in that I think that all movies about haunted houses are somewhat related to Amityville. And I mean, seriously, because
the classic haunting stories. I mean, like all haunting stuff is super intertwined.
That's the one that's supposedly like the true story, and almost every haunting movie is kind of somewhat based off of that phenomenon.
But it was solid. I enjoyed it. The more I watch Vincent Price, the more I enjoy Vincent Price. I watched a really good horror movie with him last year that I super enjoyed. It's more like, it's funny because this movie's actually more murder mystery than it is actual haunting. Like what actually goes down in the movie is basically just murder mystery shit with a premise that this house is haunted, but you know, it's not really.
Yeah.
So
maybe
I want to pick Reese's brain on a couple of things because there are some of these older horror movies that, because you know, I'm really big into the old like 30s monster movies, and they're more like love stories than actual horror movies. If you think of like horror in like today's world, but back then they were considered horror. But then there are a couple like I know The Haunting.
That's what I was gonna bring it up, and because again,
is that like, because you've seen it and I haven't seen it, like is that actually like a horror movie or is it more like a suspense?
It is like a ghost story, but I would say it's closer to a Hitchcock than like a Universal Monsters.
And that's what I would expect. And so
it's a great movie.
I'm gonna give you one more, and we go a little bit further here. Rosemary's Baby.
That I would say is like a psychological thriller, but it does have more like horror elements. That one is fantastic. Very similar to a couple movies of late. I even say like Hereditary is a descendant of
Rosemary's Baby. Right. All right, Rosemary's Baby is pretty high on my watch list right now.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I want to check that out too.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that House on Haunted Hill is solid to check out. I had more recollection of the 2000s version, which I think played more into like actual like horror stuff.
The only thing, that one was definitely a horror movie. It was really poorly cast from what I remember. It was like a bunch of rappers.
2000s people like, get in this movie.
Yeah, like all the people that were,
not real
putting
actors.
in every horror movie and some rappers, and then like
they did that a lot back.
They had the I remember Marilyn Manson's Sweet Dreams was played in like every scene. That felt like
which for sure.
To me was like the payoff of the movie, because that song's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just it was just like some like mediocre horror elements based around Marilyn Manson's version of Sweet Dreams.
Yeah, I think
Jeffrey Rush.
The story is much more
Jeffrey
like,
Rush wasn't that.
Watching it in its classic form definitely made the whole presentation and story feel a little bit better. And it's probably not one of the better movies of that time, but I think it's nice to go back and rewatch regardless. I've seen better movies with Vincent Price, but it's still solid.
Yeah. I'd kind of like to watch that, honestly.
Look at this inflation. The plot of the original House on Haunted Hill is people competing for $10,000.
Yeah.
In the 1999 one, they're competing for $1 million.
Yeah.
million.
I mean, yeah.
Woo! Through the roof. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
remember
I don't
as a
think they
kid.
needed to change the price that
It
much.
got-
I mean,
$10,000 was it wasn't $1 million.
I think a lot
Yeah.
of people
Probably
would
more
take
like
the challenge for $200,000 today.
$200,000.
You know?
Yeah, honestly,
for sure.
As an adult living in this modern world, I think, ooh, holy shit,
Yeah.
$10,000.
No, $10,000 is still real money for sure.
Yeah.
Now, one thing
I'd
that
be
was
more likely to do it for $10,000 than $1 million because, like, if you tell me $1 million, I think that like
What's
there's a lot of
catch?
tax related
Yeah.
things which
Right.
lead me to
A lot
believe
of-
that
lot
this
of
isn't
headache.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas like $10,000, you're just like right at that threshold. So like
yeah.
this could be legit.
No, what was funny about this movie is that a lot of it revolved around a vat of acid that just happened to be.
Oh,
In
my
this
favorite Rick
house?
and Morty episode.
Dude, like, I think there's some inspiration from that, for that episode. But like, they go into the house and all the characters getting settled in, and the one character is like, he's the owner of the house. They rented it to Vincent Price, and he was telling everybody about the murders that happened. They're all like strange murders, and he's like, yeah, one of the murders is so and so put his wife in this vat of acid, and it's like it's still here. It's like still there, like they're just hanging out. You guys aren't concerned with like I don't know, filling with cement or something, you know? Like. And of course, it ties into the last scene in the movie. But yeah, that cracked me up. Last thing I got to talk about, other than I watched RoboCop 3 and it was fucking terrible.
He flies.
Yeah, he flies. Was a movie on Shudder that just got put up with Nicolas Cage called Arcadian, which was pretty interesting, actually. It was pretty cool. It was a post-apocalyptic monster movie, essentially, because the apocalypse was somehow caused by these... Well, the monsters did the job. I think they kind of hint that we caused the scenario. It was an environmental thing, very loose, like environmental reference, that we basically, like, our actions and what we did to the planet, like, brought forth these things that fucked everything up for us.
Yeah.
But the story is Nicolas Cage having survived the apocalypse with two sons, him dealing with it with
The
his two
aftermath.
sons. Yeah. So you get the intro with him and his two babies, and then it goes 15 years in the future, and they're 16-year-old kids.
Sorry, you said it was called
Arcadian.
Arcadian. Okay.
Yeah. So fairly typical as far as a lot of the apocalyptic stuff.
I just love that shit, though, man.
No,
I'm
I do.
a
I
sucker
do.
for
I do
that,
too. I'm a
man.
super sucker for post-apocalyptic stuff. hands down.
Post-apocalyptic
And I'm a
dystopian.
sucker
I'm
for
kind of
fucking
just
Yeah.
for watching Nicolas Cage and those kinds of movies too. But no, it was the monsters were actually really fucking interesting, and they did a good job presenting them slowly. And then once they were presented, they did a good job at just like fucking driving it home and like just rolling with it, because you don't exactly know what they are. Can't really see them until about 45 minutes in, and you see them in a couple different ways that make you think there's something that they might not be, or gives you some idea of what they are, but then you see them and it's like, this isn't any fucking thing that I thought this was. They're like orangutan spiders,
Ugh.
kind of. And
Oh.
like,
that's weird.
they have their heads, you see their heads first, and they're super tall and elongated when they're looking at you, because there's a couple of scenes where they're looking at one of the characters, and it seems like a super creepy, like, I don't know, like,
Multi-eyed.
yeah, type thing,
Yeah.
like fucking just really strange presentation. But then when you actually see them like in full stance, they bring their head back and they have big long fucking snapping jaws, and they like fucking snap like a goddamn cartoon crocodile, like at the characters, and just run at you and like
Jeez.
but there's even a point where they form like critter balls. Remember Critters 2?
Yeah.
When the critters form a giant ball, there's a scene where they fucked up this farm and like they're trying to escape, and they see this big fucking rolling wheel of them. Like it was pretty cool.
Wow.
It was interesting. I definitely suggest watching it. It was refreshing.
This
Honestly,
man
for
is so busy.
yeah, no, he is. Nicolas Cage, man, he's just driving it home.
Damn.
But yeah, so that takes it for me on
Right
stuff
on.
that I felt was talk worthy.
Talk. Me next?
Yeah, go for it. Reese, what have you got?
So the 4th of July, the only celebrating I did was I went to the theaters and I saw the new Yorgos Lanthimos movie, Kinds of Kindness. This is the director of Poor Things.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one of my favorites of his, but I did really enjoy it. It's very interesting. It's an anthology movie, which I don't know if I couldn't think if I've seen another anthology movie in theaters. I'd have to think about that. But it's all three stories are the same actors just playing different roles with a few additions in each story.
The trailer was strange.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you anything.
Makes the trailer make more sense.
Yeah,
knowing that it's an anthology with the same actors.
Yeah.
You kept seeing them in different things.
But it's Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, Willem Dafoe, Margaret Qualley, and then a few other people you'd probably recognize. But the two leads really are Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons, and they both do fantastic jobs, especially playing three different characters each. I really enjoyed it. Highly recommend. But it's probably on the lower end of his movies for me. And then I had to watch an action movie to celebrate America, so I finally watched First Blood. And I feel like I've been hearing for the last 20 years that this is not the action movie that I think it's going to be, and it kind of was. Yeah. I thought it was really good, or it was pretty good.
Less action than you thought, though, right?
Well, I guess
we're talking about the first Rambo movie.
Yeah, the first Rambo movie.
Yeah.
There was less action than I thought.
Action in the first 25 minutes.
If people are telling you that, it's because they've also seen Rambo.
Yeah.
First Blood Part 2.
Yeah.
So which is just nonstop explosions.
And I get that.
Yeah,
sure.
I feel like your expectation would have been like Commando with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where it was literally just
that's where
chomping around, blowing shit up.
That's probably where they would have been, except for a bunch of people have told me it's not that. So I was expecting 30 minutes of action in the whole movie.
No, yeah, it's still a lot of action for sure.
The problem with First Blood, the first Rambo, for action heads is that they actually build a little bit of a backstory for the character, and really they don't want that.
Yeah,
they just want explosions.
Yeah, I would have been really excited if the movie had been 45 to 50 minutes of just story and building tension and building pressure, and Rambo keeps getting shit on and pushed down, and then just 40 minutes of nonstop bloodshed.
I would have liked that more.
I think that would have been sick.
Yeah, some of it he brought on himself.
Yeah. I watched a new movie, a comedy.
I want to say that nobody ever speaks about Brian Dennehy's performance in it, but as the asshole cop.
Oh,
I get that he always plays like a dick in every movie, and so it's he's very much like a character actor in that way. But I don't know, it's a very very memorable role for him, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway,
watched a new comedy called Babes. It's kind of like a.
It's new and it's called Babes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, it came out literally this year.
Is it an acronym or?
No, just Babes.
Okay.
We are in I've talked about this with some friends. We are in kind of a quote unquote golden age of very lazy movie titles.
Yeah, I would say, because that sounds like a romantic comedy from the early 90s.
Yeah.
Who says Babes anymore?
Or some Porky's type shit. Or
yeah. That's 80s to 90s. That's an 80s to 90s. I don't remember the last time. Hey, call the Babes over.
It is kind of a romantic comedy, though. Not really romance. It's two best friends. One of them is on their second child, and the other one accidentally gets pregnant on a one-night stand, and then kind of going through that together. But it was fun. I think the writing felt like a Pineapple Express or 40-Year-Old Virgin level of comedy, goofy and fun. But the filmmaking was leaning closer to an actual rom-com, kind of trying to do actual filmmaking, and it's just guys, some of this dialogue is
plot
goofy,
lines.
and you are trying to pull heartstrings here. You need to get on the same page.
Yeah, for sure.
But Well, I'm going to take a break for 1 second from the movies I've been watching. Here are a list of some movies that have come out in the last 5 years.
Turn you down.
Air, Scream, Fall, Nope, Soul, X, The Menu, The Whale, Smile, Megan, The Batman, Pearl, Elvis,
Hey, man.
Fresh,
These are
Nobody.
modern
Prey.
times.
I don't think
Things
these
have
are
to be
bad titles. I
streamlined.
think that you're just saying a bunch of one-word titles, and I don't think one-word titles is necessarily bad.
Okay, I
Now,
will admit,
the one that started this conversation, that was bad. Babes is bad. That's
will
a bad
admit,
title.
like I don't. I think I'm being unfair. I don't think like Nope is a bad title or X. But it's the ones like Air, Fall, a second movie called Scream in the same franchise just is so annoying to me.
Yeah, that
Wait,
one's,
what?
That one's
I
pretty
don't even know what you're talking about right now.
The sixth Scream movie is called Scream, but it's not a remake. It's the sixth Scream movie.
That just makes me hate that
What the fuck?
franchise so
Why?
much more.
Why?
Because if you watch the trailers, they were like, "Ooh,
hey guys,
it's a whole
this
new
is this
story.
is a board meeting. Hey,
we're trying to be
Yeah.
pretentiously
hey guys,
fucking
I know this is
fourth
Scream
wall
6.
again.
What do you say we just drop the 6
Well,
because
I
people
mean-
get annoyed by too many numbers behind the title of the film.
That really
so let's just start
makes me
over.
hate that franchise
I think
so
it's actually
much more.
Scream 5. But the
Oh,
even
okay.
stupider thing is
The
that
fact that we don't know
Guess
makes it
what
worse.
Scream 6 is called? It's called Scream 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the franchise goes Scream 4, Scream, Scream 6.
Yeah, fuck the Scream.
That's like,
franchise. I'm sorry, I hate it so much.
That's
I hate
like
that
the
franchise.
Friday the first
Ugh.
the Friday the 13th franchise.
Yeah.
You got Friday the 13th and then part 2, part 3 and then the final chapter and then
We're
part
not done
5
yet.
the new
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah,
It's a pretty
They
common
ended up
thing.
having like 12 movies total or something. So
I will talk about this later on in the movies I've been watching, but the Final Destination franchise is Final Destination, Final Destination 2, Final Destination 3, The Final Destination, Final Destination 5. It's like
yeah.
you guys can't do anything.
And
right.
that's
they
stupid
just thought it was
because,
going to be over with. They're like, this is the last
so,
one. Oh shit, that didn't
real-
just good enough.
Real quick, Final Destination, the whole idea is an oxymoron. You don't need the word final. Destination tells it all. It is
true.
final. I mean, it's your destiny. like, you know, like they say, if you haven't gotten to where you're going, you're not there yet. So the fact that they said final and destiny in the same movie and then started putting sequel numbers behind it makes that whole thing bogus.
I do ultimately like the trend we've been getting with horror franchises of reboots that are also sequels. It's just that they have terrible titles.
Yeah.
The 2018 Halloween movie is a sequel to the first Halloween movie, which means the order of the franchise is Halloween, Halloween, Halloween
Yeah.
kills, and Halloween ends. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. Just
No.
like the recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre is technically a sequel, and it's
Yeah.
just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No, it's frustrating for sure. I did enjoy that one actually, and I do
Yeah.
not like that franchise a lot, but I actually did enjoy that one.
Yeah, I think there's just been. Oh, remember we had a Gerard Butler movie last year called Plane.
Yeah.
It's called fucking Plane.
It's a better title than Snakes on a Plane.
I mean, I remember what
simple
Snakes
is
on
better. Snakes on a Plane. I will say the thing about Snakes on a Plane is I know what that movie is. I have to watch
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Plane. You're
It's
like,
very self-explanatory.
what about a plane?
It could be anything.
Yeah. Snakes on a plane. Okay.
It's about a woodworker.
Woodworker's bench infested with snakes. No! I couldn't finish this project in time. It's gonna ruin my family.
I watched Little Monsters for the first time.
Fred Savage
Fred Savage.
and Howie Mandel.
What do you think?
I'm
sure it's.
I want to know how it
dated
holds up
amount
because
for
I loved
sure.
it when I was a kid.
I
It's
thought it was
fun.
pretty stupid.
Yeah.
Had some fun parts, but
Or
ultimately,
not Howie Mandel. Wait, is it Howie
it's
Yeah,
Mandel?
it's Harry Mandel.
yeah,
I'm confusing with another movie, too. I think
Little Monsters.
Drop Dead Fred.
Yes.
Drop Dead Fred.
Yeah, those
and
are
I confuse
super
the-
synonymous.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
confuse those two.
When I started the movie, this is my first time watching it. For whatever reason, I thought this predated Beetlejuice, and I was like, holy shit, Michael Keaton just like totally lifted Howie Mandel's performance for Beetlejuice. And then I was like, I looked up the dates, and no, Beetlejuice came out the year before this. So Howie Mandel just lifted. It's like literally sounds like he's doing an impression of Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
I remember the horror elements of the film being that the main character, who was a child, liked to do late night peanut butter and onion sandwiches, and I'm like, what the fuck?
What's wrong?
That's like the
I
first.
like both of those things, but what are you doing?
That was the first thing you see in the movie is he's making the sandwich. It's
Peanut
so
butter
gross.
and onion. Like, ugh.
Ugh.
No, I mean it definitely is. It definitely has some age to it. As dated, like there's probably more stupid than fun, but a lot of the practical stuff, a lot of the set design.
Honestly,
is really
I
cool.
thought the effects and makeup were pretty fun. They were just kind of misused.
Yeah.
They could have made it a lot more interesting. But it was like just such like cashing in on like Beetlejuice and the Goonies and
that does track. I agree with that. That it does with like creating that context. Yeah, it feels like cash grab there, especially like throwing him in the movie too. Like yeah.
Yep.
It's been a while since I watched it again, but
I thought the child actors were ultimately pretty good though.
Yeah.
So what was your final take
I
on
would agree with
Little
that.
Monsters?
I thought it was pretty meh. I gave it a 2.5 out of 5.
Yeah. Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I feel like if you asked me right now, I'd say the same. But when I was a kid, I really enjoyed it.
Well, because it's just monsters and creepy shit.
I've watched it fairly recently, and I definitely have like nostalgic memories. There's definitely a lot of like that happening. I mean, I do enjoy it. I'd watch it again, but I won't like argue. Too hard.
I can't really have a conversation with someone who thinks Goonies is not a good movie.
Mm-hmm.
While I will acknowledge that I probably
it's not
only
a good
like
movie.
Goonies because I watched it, 20 times
nostalgia is
before
huge.
the age of
And that's-
13.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If I watched Little
that
Monsters
does-
20 years ago, I probably would have liked this a lot more. But
My problem was that when I was a kid and I watched Goonies, I'm like, this is kind of cheesy.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the first movie that like
oh no, I'm not a kid anymore.
I like Goonies as much as the next kid, I guess, except I was also like, this is kind of something about this makes me uneasy. Like it makes me kind of uncomfortable, like how like cheesy it is in certain areas.
I watched a random Robin Williams movie I'd never heard of, and then I watched it. I was like, oh, that's probably why. Club Paradise.
I don't know if I ever saw that one. No.
It wasn't that funny, and the plot is literally like Robin Williams goes to Jamaica and then decides to save the natives. So it's like, I can see why the studio's not like wanting to cash in on this one. It's also just not that funny.
Yeah.
There were a couple like side performances. Rick Moranis and Eugene Levy play like real pervy guys that are like just trying to get laid and then trying to pick up drugs. I thought they were pretty funny. And then is it Andrea Martin? Yeah, who I only really recognize from all of the My Big Fat Greek Wedding movies. Andrea Martin.
Oh yeah.
But I thought she was like actually really funny in the movie. Otherwise, pretty forgettable. I watched. Go back. I watched a movie that came out in 2020 called Earwig and the Witch, which is the first ever digital, like a CGI movie put out by Studio Ghibli. I thought it was kind of bad. It was so just, there was like no tension, no stakes. They're kind of just meandering through this real cutesy story, and then it ends like it's like literally feel like on a cliffhanger, but it's not part one or anything. It's the full story. Well, not even a cliffhanger. It ends on like, and then we lived happily ever after. But imagine like you'd only seen 2/3 of the movie, and then that happens.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah, cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty bad.
No, it's pretty strange too
Yeah.
for Ghibli to have that kind of a
Yeah,
movie.
and it wasn't directed by Miyazaki. And it was definitely like an experimental movie.
Sure.
And some of the animation I thought was kind of cool. But overall, I thought it was pretty meh.
Yeah, probably somebody in the company was like, "Hey, let's do this." He's like, "Okay, fuck off, go do it. We'll be over here doing this other thing."
That's why you gotta be able to separate the two, like be able to separate like Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli. I mean, that's true for a lot of like, cause what's the what is it, A24 or whatever that like, it's very easy to because they've just made so many like fucking damn good movies that it's easy to take that for granted, but like you also have to remember that it's just, at the end of the day, it is just a studio, and like they're gonna have good movies and bad movies, like every other studio.
For sure.
I watched the first Puss in Boots movie. I'd never seen it, even though I love the sequel.
Is the Wish one the one that you guys keep saying that I
yes,
need to
the
see?
last
the
Wish.
last one,
I will say there are some characters introduced in this one that are in the second movie,
right?
But it is totally unnecessary and not a good movie. So I would just skip it.
Yeah, no,
just watch
that's why
I think
I was
the Wish
so,
one is like the third movie.
I was
something.
It's the second of the Puss in Boots movie,
Okay.
but technically it's the like sixth.
No,
of the
I
Shrek
was
movies.
like, I was honestly blown the fuck away by that movie. Why? One of the reasons why is because I was familiar enough with the rest of the Shrek franchise.
Yeah.
that I was just like expected just complete bullshit, and I was like, oh my god, like, this is where did this come from? How did this happen?
It's almost a shame you have to give it all those caveats of like it's not like the rest of the movies.
No, it
Like,
is. It is because it's just
really
genuinely
fucking good.
fucking awesome. Yeah.
I finally got a hold of the Blu-ray of Return of the Living Dead. I did watch it, but I don't think I really gave it full due. So I didn't really even like rate it on Letterboxd. I want to give that another watch. But what I really picked up on is it was very fun.
It's super fun. It's super fun.
The chick that gets naked and dances on the crypts, I thought, I was like, damn, she's
my
fucking hot.
dude. One of my favorite parts of that is when,
dude, she's naked the entire movie.
I know.
Like,
I thought that was actually really
well,
funny.
mostly there's about 10. There's like 5 minutes of her on camera before they get to the
before she takes her clothes off, but then she's just like with
Because
her clothes off the entire
Her
movie.
clothes, I think, get like destroyed or something, so she can't put them
and then
back
she
on.
becomes a zombie.
What's funny
with
is
tits
because
hanging out.
the acid rain comes down.
Yeah.
No, my favorite scene in that movie is the fucking punk rock dude that drives the car, and like after she's dancing and naked and shit, he's all just like standing in the graveyard by himself, just like fucking staring off in the distance. Nobody fucking gets me, man. This fucking super hot naked chick comes up like, I like you, buddy. He's like, you don't fucking get it, man.
It's like, I'm doing something over here.
I love how
No one
like
appreciates my sensitivity.
he's like the most exaggerated punk guy too. Like the chain from like his nose to his ear is like it's like a fucking like something you'd put a Rottweiler on. You know? Like,
it's so silly. No, I love the when everything becomes animated in the warehouse upstairs. Like the first thing they find is the fucking barking half dog.
Yes, that was really
dude,
good.
That thing's so cool. I want one of those for our movie
Yeah,
spot.
I love the effects. I think he's a pretty iconic zombie. The guy who's like covered in mud or whatever.
Yeah, that comes out of the barrel.
He was very impressive.
Oh, dude,
and I know they like
for sure
fully used like his outfit in the mud, but it really looked like
it was
less than a human body was walking around.
No, it was
very
dope.
cool.
When they also captured like a half a zombie later, and strap it to a table and are talking to it. Like, that shit was super cool. Like,
yeah.
No, the whole
it's fucking great,
lore
dude.
of it, like it's like the most terrifying zombie apocalypse because you can't just
do anything
you can't just
to
brain
them,
them and
and
move
they're
on.
fucking smart.
Yeah.
Like they're literally in that movie, like send more paramedics, send more cops. All the cops come, like get jumped by all these zombies. Like nothing you can do. And everybody, that's what I love about the movie is everyone in the movie does everything that makes the most sense.
Yeah.
Like they cornered the first zombie. Like, what do we do? Let's shove something in his head. Put a pike in his head.
Yeah.
Still squiggling around. Like, fuck. Let's cut his head off. Cut his head off. Whole body and head still going. Fuck. Let's chop it into pieces. Chop it in pieces. Every piece still going. Fuck. What do we do? Let's burn it. Oh, you burned it. Now it's raining fucking acid zombie rain and reanimating your graveyard. Like, nothing you can do.
That was pretty great.
Dude, it's fantastic.
I watched The Maze Runner. Thought that was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I
Generic.
get a little tired of criticisms like, oh, it's the apocalypse and you have makeup or whatever. But then you watch this and like, guys,
No,
could
yeah.
you just like
Yeah.
try and make it look like these people have
Yes,
been living in the
exactly.
wild for 3
Yeah.
years?
There is a point where that is super relevant
Yeah.
to super relevant criticism.
Yeah.
Come on.
Which is a shame too, because it's a cool concept.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
like details, like
Yeah.
you miss the details and it gets away from you.
I did also kind of think it was interesting on how much of a cliffhanger it ends. I didn't realize that going into it, and I thought that was kind of cool.
They didn't make like a million of those movies. Like
No,
like
three. I think.
three. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a million.
I was trying to remember the name to the sequel, and I had to go through like 6 iterations, but I did get there, and then
Which is weird because I don't think they're running a maze anymore after the first one. So
No.
the maze
and
has already been
the
run.
person I was talking to didn't believe that I actually remembered the correct title, but it is The Scorch Trials is the sequel.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
Maze Runner 2, The Scorch
The
Trial.
Scorch Trials. And then this last Saturday, I've been really hankering to rewatch the Final Destination movies because it is one of my favorite franchises. So I had a couple friends over, and we tried to make it through all 5.
That's a lot.
But it got pretty late, and somebody was coming off of their 3rd shift job.
Yeah.
We only made it through 4. But
I mean, that's still pretty good, I
That's
guess.
that's a lot of Final
It's
Destination.
a lot.
It's
It's a lot
still-
of people getting murdered in different ways.
Yeah.
A lot of Final Finals.
Honestly.
Yeah.
still love that whole franchise, and I'm very excited because we are supposed to be getting Final Destination Bloodlines next
Fucking
year.
God, dude. Oh my
I am
god.
so excited. This will.
I can stand Final Destination much more than Scream. I can appreciate Final Destination for just creative kills.
There's some very creative kills.
I cannot respect Scream.
Like there's like a million movies that have creative kills.
Well, no, but I get it. I get it that it's the movie shtick. Like,
Yeah.
I get that, and I can
Anxiety
respect that.
is the villain.
I can respect that more than fucking Scream. Scream past Scream 1, I don't. You just can't. You can't do it for me.
I really think the most interesting thing about Final Destination is that there is not a villain and there's nothing you can fight.
Right.
You can only run. And the thing that's going to kill you is like invisible. Yeah, there's not like it's not even, I mean, they say it's death, right? But there's never like a personification of it in any way. I really enjoy that. I think it really stands out for that reason. But I'm anxiously awaiting Final Destination 6.
Jesus.
Bloodline.
That's the movies I'm choosing to talk about.
I'll tell you, Hellraiser, another horror movie that they've made a cajillion
So many
sequels
bad
to.
ones.
Yeah.
One of the Hellraiser sequels is called Bloodline.
Yeah, maybe it's connected. Maybe Pinhead's going to show up.
Well,
in this
the
one.
thing is with Hellraiser Bloodline, it is both the best and worst Hellraiser movie because it's kind of like half the movie is a backstory about how they made the box.
Is that the most recent one?
No,
That
it's
one I think
not.
was
Not
just
at
no,
all
yeah,
the most recent
No,
one.
no, yeah.
But like half the movie is like a backstory about this dude in a fucking cabin making the box. And then like the other half of the movie is Hellraiser in space.
Okay. Nice.
So the half that is the prequel is really like fascinating. But then there's also Hellraiser in space.
Yeah. Tisk tisk.
Yeah. So is that
I think
Yeah,
that's
that
the-
pretty much
conclude
does
your
it.
list?
Friend.
That's the gist.
I've got a very short list this week. I've got 2 movies. One is a throwback, a little nostalgia pick. I rewatched War Games, which when I was growing up, this was on like TNT or TBS like 4 times a week, I think.
Yeah.
I probably saw War Games starring Matthew Broderick like 50 times or something like that because my parents were just because you only had like,
you have
so
those movies. that they
yeah,
just
you only have
played.
so many cable
Yeah.
stations, and so you end up
Exactly,
watching
right.
the same fucking movie over and over again.
Yeah.
Coming background noise.
It's fine. Like it, I don't know. Like
It's fine. Yeah.
it's fine.
So that's a good example of old, like 80s, 90s movies that
It's very
make
80s.
me wonder, like their showcase of that technology that we had back then just seems like complete bullshit, right? Like every time I watch one of those movies, that's like, well, you do this with a phone and you put this up to it and you do this and you do doo 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 and you fucking do all this stuff. It's like, I watched that. And I'm just like, it just seems like complete bullshit. It's always fascinated me, like, how much of that is anything? Because it just seems arbitrary nonsense.
Yeah, science fiction that's missing the science always kind of falls flat.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a lot of the 90s hacker movies. Like, is any of this
I don't think any of them
remotely
aged
true, or are
very
they just
well.
making shit up?
Yeah, there's
you
a
know?
scene where they lock him in like a vault, and the vault has like a digital code, like a telephone.
Right.
And like, so when they lock it, you hear like a dial tone, basically, like,
Right.
and like he fucking somehow rigged with the shit that he has in the vault. He finds like a tape recorder, and he sets up like some mechanism to where
Right.
like the next time they open it, he records the sounds and then like replays the sounds, and somehow that opens it. And like, I don't know if that's like scientifically accurate. I don't think you can just like record the tones.
Yeah. No, I mean, hacking into a fucking, you know, the country's fucking computer mainframe with literally a fucking, just a rotary fucking phone and some shit. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you put the phone up to this thing and let it play, and then you record it here. And I watch those movies, I'm like, I just don't know, guys. I don't know.
Well, I feel
but
like
I feel
there
the
was
same about modern science, like computer shit too. Like, I watch modern. Yeah, I watch modern computer shit. I'm like, this feels like just as much bullshit.
Well, if you think about it, the farther you go back, the more fiction there is in science fiction movies, right? Like, I feel like,
sure.
that Tyson Neil deGrasse or whatever the fuck his name, like
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson, whatever the fuck. That dude, he's like supposed to be like one of the smartest men in the world. Like, I saw like an interview with him. And they asked him what the like smartest sci-fi, like the most realistically sci-fi movie was, and he said The Martian with Matt Damon. And I'm like, that actually makes sense to me, you know, like, because the whole concept of man stuck on Mars, like, we aren't there yet, but like the science of like how they actually go about trying to rectify that situation is where all the science comes in. It's all very accurate. And like going to back to my youth, that wasn't really an option because our science didn't really stretch that far, you know? So there was a lot more fiction in the science fiction.
Yeah, no, it gets weird with stories like this because it's dealing with like the concrete technologies that we have and at that time had with phone lines and like the beginning of the internet and shit like that.
Oh, it's kind of ridiculous because there's a lot of computers in this movie, and the computers are just like, fuck, dude. Like, oh my God, man. Like, I've seen like typewriters that were, you know, like had smaller keyboards than this, you know, like.
Well, I mean, dude, when you look at early computer technology,
and ridiculous,
you know, when you look at computers
80s.
In the '60s, they're fucking.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
You know, it's
this was
insane.
the '80s, and I mean, it totally matched for that era.
No,
for sure.
It's always just made me wonder. Like, I want to find somebody that was into those technologies at the time, make them watch the movie. Like, is any of this track? Same thing with the '90s stuff. Like, is any of this track for the internet? Like, at that time, does any of this make sense? I can't fucking tell. But no, it's an okay movie.
Yeah, it's just fine.
It's one of those.
And then the other one, thanking Nathan Patterson for really getting me on this one. The Mitchells versus the Machines.
It's fucking awesome, dude.
It's
fucking
that
pretty
movie's a lot of fun.
undeniably fun, dude.
If you like the animation in that, you will love The Last Wish. It has very similar.
And if you like that,
I love the humor in it.
Yeah.
if you
is
like
what I
that
love.
too, you should watch Next Gen. That's also a Netflix original. That's a family animated movie. It's fucking fantastic.
The scene that got me, and like, it was very early on where they're like, it's like a commercial for the company that's behind the whole tech or whatever, and like, he's like our technology and like how to make dogs talk, and it's like this dog that has this like fucking like thing on his head. He's just like very nervously like eye twitching. He's like, I am dog, and you're just like, okay. Like, I fucking died.
One of my favorite bits too is after the dad gets captured and like the iPhone is just like shooting everybody into space, and she captures the designer. And they end up in a cell together, and the dude's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for all this happening." And the dad's like, "Yeah, maybe not so much. Try less corporate overreach next time." I'm like, "Yeah." No, it's so much fun.
That's a very fun movie.
But if you like that, you should totally watch Next Gen. That one's really good too.
Next Gen.
Next Gen. It's a Netflix one too.
Okay.
It's fucking awesome.
But I really enjoyed the Mitchells versus the Machines. And,
It's pretty undeniable fun.
it took me like I didn't realize while I was watching it that Danny McBride was the voice of the dad.
Yeah.
And, it tracked once I found that
Yeah,
out.
I didn't know that, and you say that, I'm like, yep, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, see, great family movie right there. Family animation.
it was.
Fantastic.
It was a very good family.
Every time, not every time, but more and more,
Yeah,
you keep
there are
opening
ones
your
that
heart
are
to
that are
animation, and
worthwhile.
it doesn't disappoint.
Next
No,
Gen's
I
fucking
just don't
I haven't
really.
seen Next Gen.
I mean,
You haven't
Can't
either?
speak to that. I don't think
Oh,
I
dude,
haven't seen.
you should check that one out too. It's really good.
There's a new Netflix animated Ultraman movie that apparently completely stands alone, and the animation looks really cool.
Yeah, the
I'm
animation
hoping
does.
to watch that one soon.
Yeah.
right
All
on.
right.
All right. So now for today's features,
Be sure.
plural. We did The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2.
Does part of you wish they would just retroactively officially change the title to The Godfather Part 1? Because that bugs
Right.
me.
Yeah.
I mean, they did it with Star Wars. They changed the name. It's Star Wars:
Yeah.
A New Hope, Episode 4.
Right.
It
Yeah,
used to just be called
you
Star
could
Wars.
retroactively do it. I do know from in like doing some research. Like I actually learned some shit that I didn't know. I've seen these movies a million times since like going back to when I was a kid, and to me, the reason for choosing these films was I think that these are just like they're great American classics, right?
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
The great American.
yeah,
classics,
the great American classics. And honestly, when I was a kid and I first saw them, they weren't even classics, right?
Yeah.
like they weren't even
Yeah.
that old, honestly.
You saw them in theaters, right?
Not quite that old, but just the style. And you're right. You said earlier, Italian American, and there
Very
is
Italian.
a very old world feel to these movies.
For sure.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
Italian dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of Italian dialogue, a lot of ritual,
A lot of
shit ton of
Italian.
ritual,
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
of all kinds. Ritual in the Catholic Church, ritual in the gangster shit. There's
I-
ritual everywhere.
I do want to look up how many of the rules they mention are real and or just made up for the movie. Like everyone knows if you could ask Cecilia a favor on his daughter's wedding day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that real? Is that real?
Yeah. I don't know. And the thing is, this movie is such an inside look at the mafia that nothing outside of it really exists.
Yeah.
You know, like and that I think is the charm of specifically the first movie.
Well,
Yeah.
Did you know also that these movies more shaped the look of the mafia than mimicked it? Like a lot of like
Oh, I
mobsters
could
and
see
stuff
that.
watch this movie and like, damn,
Fuck, we should be doing
Yeah,
that.
That's
that's
badass.
nice
We should
shit.
look
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it
We
doesn't
don't have a
surprise me.
goon compound? What the fuck?
Why do we not have a goon compound?
Why doesn't anybody respect me like him?
Yeah.
You guys, you better watch your kneecaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just the whole play on family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like that's the important thing. So both films directed by Francis Ford Coppola, books by Mario Puzo.
Is it 2 books?
I don't actually know. I don't actually know the answer to that.
We do our research here, folks.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I also don't know. if it's one or
I don't
two
fucking
books.
know. Why are you asking questions you don't
Hey,
know the answer
listeners,
to?
you have
Look,
Google
this is a
just like
movie
us.
podcast, not a book podcast.
The first film, though, starring
We're here to talk about experience.
starring Marlon Brando as Don Vito Corleone. He is the Godfather.
Yeah.
Al Pacino is Michael Corleone. James Caan is Sonny Corleone. And Tom Hagen is played by Robert Duvall, who is an honorary Corleone. We'll say that. Fredo, played by John Cazale, is kind of the doofus brother.
All I can think is fucking Disenchantment, man. The fucking elves in Disenchantment. Fredo. It just sounds like a stupid elf.
Yeah.
Fredo is very funny. in
Well,
this-
like
these movies.
again, this movie has made Fredo become like a meme name. You
Yeah.
know? Like
Yeah.
like I think for Italians, even it's like you don't call your kid Fredo after the Godfather. Like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, what is he like? Simple-minded?
Yeah.
Did the mother get kicked by a mule when she was pregnant?
He's like a joke of a character.
Yeah.
They said, nobody respects me.
Yeah.
What do you think, Fredo?
We have Talia Shire is Connie, kind of like the little sister. What do you guys think of Talia Shire? Because like
I thought she was pretty one note in the first one, more from the script.
I think she's pretty one note for her career. Like,
Oh yeah, it's like this and
Yeah.
Rocky, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like I guess maybe Rocky, she's more of a brat in this movie.
Yeah, but I really liked her more in the second one.
Yeah,
No,
there's,
she
there's
no
a lot
she.
more going
So
on there.
in the first one, she seems like a very immature brat,
Yeah.
and then in the second one, she definitely has matured a little bit.
Is this
Still the brat
pre-Rocky?
through a lot of it, but then it
Wow, so she probably got Rocky because of this movie. That's crazy.
Yeah, probably.
This is 4 years before Rocky.
So
That's insane.
I love the opening where they're doing the wedding, and he's the Don is having the conversation with the Undertaker, and the guy's talking about how like his daughter was raped, and like he's like I just want you, like basically the guy's got away with it, and he's like I want justice, and the Godfather goes off in this whole thing. It's like, oh, like we've known each other for years, and this is the first time you've ever come to me as like a friend. Like,
Right.
what's up with that? And he's like, oh, well, the police wouldn't do anything. It's like, why didn't you come to me first? And that's the first look of like how inside of a look this is at the mafia.
Yeah.
Like the police don't even exist in this world,
Right.
like really, not really.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I didn't want to get into trouble, and like basically this dude just completely bends the will. But the line I really like is he's like, I just want justice, and he's like, that's not justice. Your daughter's still alive. And like I love the Don Corleone, the Vito Corleone, his take on justice and like being fair. And like there's like late in the first movie, there's a scene where they have all the 5 families in the same room, and they talk about like, well, Don Corleone says this, and we've always known him to be honest and fair, and like they
Right.
say that throughout. And then when you get into the second movie and you see Robert De Niro's performance, I believe that's that guy, because you see
Yeah.
those same
Yeah,
characteristics.
no, he definitely it's a really cool look at a sense of honor and integrity in a arena that's not known for that, like,
Yeah.
and where that it's an important factor in crime life is honor and integrity. The honor among thieves is it's a great capturing of the
Yeah.
honor among thieves concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't want to spend a shit ton of time on these movies, because I mean, like I said, they're American
Yeah, you could pick them
classics.
apart. There's
Yeah.
so many
Yeah,
things to
like
say.
I mean, you can, and
There's-
also you can't, because
Well,
one
no,
of
I'm not.
the-
I mean, not to
there's-
pick them
there-
apart, but I mean,
yeah.
just you can spend a lot of
yeah,
time.
you could spend a lot of time
on
dissecting
every part of
everything.
this,
There's
yeah.
the very yeah. Go ahead, Reese.
Do we want the plot?
Yeah, oh yeah,
synopsis?
yeah. Well, let's see what bullshit that the studio came up with.
What?
By the way, the
so
studio was the studio was very much a detriment to the first film ever getting made. Like it's actually kind of a miracle that the movie got made.
Now there is a mini series I think that came out like literally 1 or 2 years ago. I don't remember what it's called. It might be called The Offer or something like that, and it's about the making of The Godfather. Have either of you seen it? 'Cause
No.
I have not.
No,
I
that sounds
kind of like to.
interesting, Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially after doing research and figuring out some of the things that they had to go through.
yeah, I think it got really good reviews, and I think it was probably like Max or Hulu,
Okay.
one of those. But actually, no, I think it was the company who owns, was it Paramount Plus? I think it was actually.
Okay.
They produced it, but it looked really good.
Okay.
Anyway,
This is actually a movie, not a documentary, or
I mean, it's actors, but it's a
Yeah.
miniseries, not a
Okay.
movie. Yeah.
interesting.
Okay. The Godfather, 1972. Spanning the years 1945 to 1955, a chronicle of the fictional Italian-American Corleone crime family. When organized crime family patriarch Vito Corleone barely survives an attempt on his life, his youngest son, Michael, steps in to take care of the would-be killers, launching a campaign of bloody revenge. And the tagline is, an offer you can't refuse.
Oh.
Oh,
That's,
they,
you know,
they
it's
wrote
like-
it for
Well,
him.
go ahead and do the
what
second
other-
one too, because we're going to kind of talk about them together.
Yeah. In the continuing saga of the Corleone crime family, a young Vito Corleone grows up in Sicily, and in 1910s New York. In the 1950s, Michael Corleone attempts to expand the family business into Las Vegas, Hollywood, and Cuba. And I don't know. Maybe it didn't have a tagline. I guess some of these older movies did have like just quotes from the movie as a tagline.
Yeah.
The tagline is, "I don't feel I have to wipe everybody out, Tom. Just my enemies."
Okay, that's just a line from the movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely not as sleek as An Offer You Can't Refuse.
No, and it's not a. Yeah, there's probably some sleeper
Memorable.
dialogue there.
And there are some. There are obviously the most quoted, memorable. You have the Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes. You got the An Offer You Can't Refuse, which is a story that
Tell us what magic card.
Incidentally. A story that Al Pacino is telling his then girlfriend at the wedding in the opening scene. Basically, it's how he tells her that his family is the mafia by telling the story about how famous singer Johnny Fontaine got out of a contract with a big band leader because his father had a dude put a gun to his head and say either his signature or his brains would be on the contract.
Right.
And that's where the Offer You Can't Refuse came from. And then leave the gun, take the cannolis is another classic line from The Godfather, which I chuckle every time I hear it still.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, the amount of stuff you would recognize from this movie with or without seeing it.
If
For
you've
sure.
seen a spoof movie, you've seen at least a scene of The Godfather.
Well, and even beyond like some of the specific spoof stuff, like as I was watching it, not having seen it, like it all like these things that I've heard a million times, like here it is.
Yeah.
It's right here. It
Yeah.
just falls right into place. All right.
The horse head in the bed. I'm sure you've seen that parodied dozens of times.
Yeah, the way that sets up is really cool.
Yeah.
I really like that intro scene with the wedding. It is kind of like a long,
It is very long,
drawn out
It is.
thing, but it is
Not as long as the wedding scene in Deer Hunter.
Yes, true. The movie itself is also not quite as long
Not
as the
quite as long as the Deer Hunter.
But
Deer
even,
Hunter is a
even
very
with
long
that scene being long, it still is like you still get so much of the content and content.
Yeah,
they
it shows the
literally
entire
set up
family.
every character.
Yeah.
And that's what the wedding scene and they also set up the mood of like that the old world feel that we're gonna feel throughout the entire thing.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
you get that from the get go. And so they're setting the stage for that. And you get that Don Corleone oversees all like the family business. He's the kingpin. And then you see that like James Caan's character Sonny is kind of like the next in command. And then Al Pacino not involved with the family business. He just got like back from the war. He's like a war hero. And then Fredo is like kind of like the dumb.
Yeah, the gimpy.
Yeah,
gimpy
he's
extra.
just like the
He's the runt.
He's
like the
I was actually kind of blown away
mascot.
by how similar the plot of these movies are to some of the early seasons of Game of Thrones. Which makes sense.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to think who Fredo was in Game of Thrones. Because there are definitely Fredo-like characters, but as like compared to the two lead families in those,
Right.
So in this, like you're saying that like Don Corleone is like Ned Stark.
yeah.
Okay.
And
I get where you're coming from.
And literally the bastard son that
Yeah.
you're my brother, but you're not blood. That's that conflict. Not in a way of like
with Tom, like he's kind of like an adopted brother.
Yeah. And not in a way like Game of Thrones totally copied. I just think it's very funny how many parallels there are.
Dude, I tell you what, man,
it's families of
the
power,
Godfather.
man.
Yeah.
What you're doing here, I like what you're doing here, right? So if you ever see The Godfather Part 3, it's really gonna seal the deal on this theory that you've got because you've got more bastard.
Yeah.
You got more bastards.
Is Robert Duvall in it? That was something I wondered.
Robert Duvall is not in the third one, and that is actually, I think, the thing that hurt it the most, other than Coppola casting his daughter, who can't act. Andy Garcia plays Sonny's bastard child. Like you see his the chick he's fucking at the wedding or whatever that isn't his wife. Like So that chick and he had a son, and that is Andy Garcia's character. So his name actually isn't Corleone, but he starts to dig his heels into the business. And then Sofia Coppola plays Michael Corleone's daughter.
Yeah.
And so they're cousins, and they also have a little bit of an incestuous relationship, which also kind of feeds into the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And then like the rules and stuff, the weird traditions, you know, you can't kill a cop on Tuesday because then the gangsters will kill you on a Wednesday. It's like, this is just made up fucking fantasy Game of Thrones shit. It's so silly, but I do love it.
I mean, you get into old world shit. I mean, so watching the scene of the Catholic Church when he's fucking giving communion.
Yeah.
And like what cracked me up about that scene watching it, I've never been to a Catholic church and never fucking will be.
I have. It's
but
awful.
It's always Catholic stuff has always cracked me up so much, but like just watching that scene where they're giving communion, there's a guy holding a tiny plate underneath the space that he gives the person the cracker.
The wafer dipped in wine.
Like, that's fucking ridiculous.
Well,
you know?
yeah,
like, there's
that is literally, not figuratively, that is literally Jesus's blood. Do you want Jesus's blood to be spilled on the floor?
Right.
Is that what you want?
And so that's what I'm saying.
I mean, it
like,
feels like it would make your church more holy to have Jesus' blood
like,
soaking the carpet.
What I dig about seeing all these things together is like it kind of makes like the gangster shit track, because like it's just extensions of really old world traditions that take seat just because people do, because like, oh, well, this is just what you do.
It's just what you do.
Yeah, and it slightly changes over time. But
no,
it's a great example of tradition.
Well, as the as Letterboxd the summary said, the things really get kicked off when there's an attempt on the Don's life. And I say attempt, he gets shot multiple times.
Yeah, it's actually
it's
really
kind of amazing that he didn't die.
Yeah.
Like really, once you've seen The Godfather Part 2, you see his backstory and you think, he's kind of a tough son of a bitch. Like, honestly,
Now, the scene where he kills the fucking Don of the town that he's in.
Oh, in The Godfather Part 2?
Yeah. It's so gangster. Dude, so gangster. God, damn, that's gangster.
Dude, and it is one of the most gruesome scenes, too. Like, he sticks it. We're talking about the end of the second movie right now. But, like, literally, he just, like...
It's all one movie.
No, I'm talking about the not the Don that killed his father, the Don that he, like, freed his territory up from.
Yeah,
but he jumping rooftop to rooftop, tracking this guy from rooftop. You know, watching him travel along these, knowing exactly where he's going to come out.
What I love,
patiently waiting with the
what towel. I love about that is like the dude is like squeezing them because they just did a coup and got some money, and like he wants to wet his beak from all that.
Yeah,
and like his buddies are like, we gotta pay. Yeah. He's the Don. He'll fucking kill us and all this. And he's like,
this is when you coins the term.
You each give me 50. And I'll make it. You give me 50, and I will make it to where he's okay with that. And I'll talk to you on his behalf, which is hilarious because his whole plan is to murder him anyway.
Yeah.
So basically, he just squeezed his buddies for $50.
Yeah,
because he didn't take it.
Yeah. I did think that was like, it was kind of like, why isn't anybody just killing this guy? Because literally all he does is tell people they have to give him money. Yeah. He doesn't do anything in return.
I think that's all you got to do is just fucking just step up and
everyone's
make the move.
petrified.
It's funny. So when in the first movie, when they take the shot at the Don and he's like got a bunch of bullet holes in him and he's in the hospital or whatever, and you don't know if he's gonna pull through or not, and they're talking to the Soloso, the guy who basically had him shot. They're having the conversation with I think he's talking to Tom Hagen, and he's like, the old man was slipping, like he wasn't as sharp as he used to be. And I feel like in the second movie, the guy that he moves against to kind of get into the world is exactly that. Like that dude probably was somebody 30 years ago. Now he's just like got his coat on his shoulders and walking around like he owns the place. And like he's like been wetting his beak for so long that like he doesn't actually have to work anymore.
What's funny, the difference between those characters, why it worked out better for Don Corleone after, in the future, is because he had family. That's what this movie's all about. I feel like it's about the power of family.
Wait, does Vin Diesel show up in part 3?
So my favorite
See,
line.
that's figuratively family, not real family. That doesn't track as well.
My favorite line from the first one, because I remember the very first time I watched it. It's just like just such a turning point, which you kind of see it coming, but like it's when he gets shot. The Don gets shot. He's in the hospital, and like Michael Corleone finds out about it. Not in the family business, just just basically a citizen.
Yeah.
And like he shows up to the hospital and immediately wonders like, there's nobody here. There's no doctors. There's no guards. Like
that scene's actually really creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
No.
oh fuck, he's right. There's danger.
Yeah.
Something bad is
like,
going to happen.
Yeah.
And the way he handles the situation is like, you and I are going to move my father into another room. She's like, no, we're not doing no. It's like bitchy nurse, and he's like, no, we're doing this.
Yeah, we are.
You're going to help me. And like, and then the dude shows up, like to show his respects, and like he kind of recruits that guy. And like so they sit out front and like look like they're guarding the place, and it does well enough. You see the car pull up. That's obviously like the assassins, and like it all goes well enough. But there's a scene like right then when he's like, I'm with you now, Pop. I'm with you. Like he's in the hospital, and like his entire character changes.
Because
like
right after that, he goes home and is like, I'm gonna kill this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing it.
So then the cop the cop shows up and tries to be the cop that had like fixed for everybody to leave.
Yeah.
Shows up and punches him in the face and breaks his jaw.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really get fixed in the movie. Like his jaw is fucked up for like basically the entire first movie.
I did not I guess I missed some dialogue or something because I thought it was just a black eye. It's like 4 months later. It's like
they did say he broke his jaw.
Yeah,
what he said. So
he does get corrective surgery like in the last like 30 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he rides it for a while.
Yeah, but there's the scene I love is when they're like. The dad's in the hospital. He's not in this, and so Sonny's basically running it. Which this dude's a hothead, so like, not the best vice president of your establishment, to take over, and he just has this idea. Well, it's like they want to meet with Michael to discuss terms of whatever to, surrender or whatever, and because they know he's just a citizen, and he's just like, so they're gonna pat me down. I'm a citizen or whatever, but if you guys can plant a gun there, I'll kill them both.
Yeah.
And it was just like that scene where it's just like very matter just plant a gun there, I'll just kill them both.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's my true calling here.
Yeah.
This is my bloodline.
And then so he kills them both, and that scene, by the way, is the studio saw an uncut version of that scene, and that was the first time that they kind of became okay with Al Pacino. They fucking hated him and did not want him in the movie at all.
Interesting.
Yeah, I did want to see like how early in his career was this.
So some backstory before we get further into this. Some things I found out. The studio didn't want Marlon Brando. There was the one actor that Francis Ford Coppola really knew that he wanted in that role. He wanted Marlon Brando, and they didn't want him because they knew they had heard that he was difficult to work with, and they didn't want to have to deal with anybody who was difficult to work with.
Yeah.
Furthermore, they said the word hated 3 times. The studio hated Al Pacino. And there were multiple like figureheads of the studio that referred to him as the dwarf Pacino.
Jesus.
Yeah, and so apparently Al Pacino had only made one movie at this point. He'd done mostly stage work. And the only movie he had done was called Panic in Needle Park, where he played like a heroin addict. And so that was the only film that he had ever done before The Godfather.
That is crazy.
And apparently Francis Ford Coppola had seen this film and saw Al Pacino and was like, I think this dude would be perfect for the lead in my film. And the studio hated it because they had a pending deal with Robert Redford for that role.
Ew.
And they really wanted Robert Redford.
What are they going
Who
to
is
dye
not
his
Italian.
hair? Were they going to dye his fucking hair? That would look
That
terrible.
doesn't make any sense.
There was even a thing where they said that there is a small part of Sicily where there are sometimes men with blonde hair. Like they had literally had like
the
mapped
family
it out to try to sell it to Francis Ford Coppola. Like, no, it's fine. Like we looked it up, and there are technically a few Sicilians that have blonde hair, so it'll be okay. And he really wanted Al Pacino. They hated it. And anyway, they saw the uncut version of the diner scene where he murders the cop and the Soloso, that was the first time they were like, okay, we get it now.
Yeah. Huh. And then this is like the character he played forever.
Yeah.
What,
yeah.
What do you know who the studio wanted for Marlon Brando?
No, they didn't. There was never like a specific, because like we wanted this guy instead, like there was with Al Pacino. It's just that Francis Ford Coppola wanted Brando, like he wanted Brando for that role from the get go, and they were just like, he's kind of difficult.
This did sculpt Pacino's whole.
Yeah,
well, he was nobody. Man. He was nobody before this.
Yeah, and he did a lot of this. I mean, it's very it's a lot of variation of this, but
the other thing is the studio, even though the book was written in the timeline that it appears in the movie, which is in the 40s. The studio wanted to make it a modern adaptation. So they wanted to be set in the 70s because they didn't want to do a timepiece because it's just more expensive.
Yeah.
You know, to have have all the cars so that was another thing he had to fight with. This movie almost didn't get made.
Yeah.
I think it could totally work in the 70s, except for the fact that Vito's story needs to be set in
exactly
immigrant, America.
Well,
for sure.
You say old world in the 40s, you could still go back there. You know, or 70s, it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, no, the foundation of Vito's character coming from when he came from in the early 1900s, that's when the world was changing, and he needed that in his backstory. He needed that old world nature.
Yeah.
So after Michael Corleone wastes this chief of police and the drug dealer, he hides out in Sicily for a couple years. At which point he steals a daughter.
Yeah, that shit cracked me
John
up.
said,
He did.
He takes on a Sicilian's daughter and marries her.
He sees this broad.
Her name's Apollonia.
Sees this broad, and he's like, they just have this eye contact. Then he just goes directly to the dad, like, "You got a daughter? Yeah, she's mine now. I'm gonna marry her." My dad's a big dude. Like, you don't want to fuck around. Like, okay. There you go. Yeah, sure.
And then they're friends. You see, they come to respect each other. They're like family. So Apollonia gets murdered.
Happenstance. The man slaughtered.
Yeah, it was meant for him. The bomb was meant for him.
Yeah.
But I always wonder, so he gets back from Sicily after years of hiding out, and then apparently waits for a year before he contacts old girlfriend Kay, from who he was with during the wedding and all that. And immediately he's like, "I haven't seen you in forever." He's like, "Yeah, I've been back for a year, so I want you to be my wife now."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's you can see where there's a little thing where they definitely did have a conversation before that, but you don't really know what was said, and it's just did he tell her about Apollonia?
No.
He did not.
He's like,
He had no reason.
"That's my little Italian secret."
Yeah, I always
She doesn't
wondered.
exist anymore. It's fine.
So basically, the first film, wrapping up the first film, and I want to touch a little bit more on the second one. He basically cleans the family business by just murdering all opposers.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just in his father's style that you see once we get into the second movie, he really does become his father.
He
Of course, at
becomes
the end of
the
the first
Godfather.
film, there's a scene at the end where he is, the same niceties and tradition and things that are played out for his father at the beginning of the film get played out for him.
The symbolistic part of it is that he orders all these hits against the 5 families and Mo Green, who is the head of the casino in Vegas that they have a stake in.
Right.
And he basically murders all of them simultaneously.
Yeah.
While he is becoming the godfather to his sister's child. And so that was the symbolism, is that he's technically becoming a godfather while he's becoming the godfather. And that was
Right.
supposed to be the symbolic moment of that whole
Pretty
scene.
like stand out. I think that whole sequence is like.
Yeah.
I
for
mean
sure.
that I don't know if that is the first movie to do that kind of scene, but it's like it definitely owns that kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, like, think of all the people who've tried to imitate that, and some have succeeded. But again, like that scene's like done a dozen times in Game of Thrones. It's done in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I'm sure I haven't seen The Sopranos. I'm sure it's done in The Sopranos.
yeah.
Like it's, but in that one,
No,
it's,
so many
it's incredible.
elements of these films are just purely timeless.
No, and it's like I think it's the only movie I've seen where it's just like we're just gonna fucking kill everybody that has any opposition whatsoever. Like some of them were more deserving than others. He even kills his own brother-in-law, as like the dude that is the actual father to the kid that he is like doing the Godfather ceremony. Like they murder that motherfucker immediately after the ceremony.
Yeah. I was because I thought it was so obvious that he sold out Sonny on top of the fact that he was beating their sister. I was like, wait a minute, you guys let him live?
Yeah,
and
this
then
guy's just like really unintelligent, right?
He does later then be like, oh, by the way, we do know that you sold out Sonny, by the way. You're not living.
Yeah, I mean,
okay. I feel more
it's
safe
pretty
now.
fucking stupid to have a girlfriend/wife that's a mob boss's girlfriend/wife and then to beat her.
Yeah.
Kind of retarded.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know what's coming for you, dude. Like,
Yeah.
how can you think that's gonna work out? Like,
Yeah, especially when he got the shit kicked out of him the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess the second time was all a setup. Like you find out later, it was all kind of a setup to like get him there in the first place, so that they can murder Sonny. So anyway, he I think as he said at the end of the movie, he's like, today I resolved all of my family's business. Just murdered everybody that was opposed to it. So, and anyway, we get into part 2, which is, I think the first real, like, prequel/sequel. I mean, because it is absolutely both. It's 2 movies in one.
yeah.
They call it the Godfather epic. It's these 2 movies together, which is really 3. And
watch
so
really well
speaking
together.
of the Godfather epic, did you look into this?
I've always wanted to see it. I've never seen it cut that way, but
Because-
they used to do it on some like
Yeah, I
American
would
Movie
love to watch
Classics or
that.
something. Used to do it all the time.
Well,
Yeah.
so it was cut for TV, recut for TV. I mean, it's called Mario Puzo's The Godfather, the complete novel for television. So I think that would say
Yeah.
both movies are based on the same book. It's recut in chronological order,
Yep.
which I think is very interesting. But on top of that, it's over an hour longer than just the 2 movies combined. So there is added
Wow.
footage to
Okay.
this that is not in
Yeah, that
the
sounds
2 movies.
fucking awesome.
Yeah. It would be
Yeah.
cool to watch it that way.
It would be.
I
And I'm
do-
sure it's already split up
It
into
would be cool.
episodes,
I
too.
always say it'd be cool to watch it that way, but I really do like the way that the second movie flip flops back and
Yeah,
forth.
no, it
between
plays
the
really well.
The
It
prequel
plays
and the
really
sequel.
well.
But I'm really curious what all the extra footage
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
Because there's
Yeah.
probably like whole subplots cut out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's like an hour, 20 minutes added.
No, for sure. Or it's just like more ritual
Yeah.
Catholic.
And more
Or,
Catholic
yeah,
stuff.
Each
More
murder
gangster
scene is
Catholic
like
shit.
5 minutes longer.
A little bit more strangling.
It's the people that complain when someone's getting strangled in a movie and like, oh, you couldn't choke someone out that fast. It's like, okay, this is the realistic murder cut where each strangle does take 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, actually,
You happy? You happy?
actually, in the
you want to see this?
in the sequel part of the second movie, there's the one big character that ends up like in the trial portion at the end.
Yeah.
Like they do try to strangle that dude, and they get walked in on.
Yeah.
And the dude doesn't
Yeah.
actually die. Because the reality is you don't just like.
No,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, strangling and neck snaps are probably like some of the most misrepresented things in film for sure. Because you're like, break your neck. Wah! Just like that. That's all it takes.
I've seen people do it like one arm,
Yeah, like, I don't know, man.
I think I
don't
even
know.
saw in a movie one person like he's being interrogated and whips his neck and breaks his own neck.
Yeah. I think there was like a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie or something like that where he puts like comes up behind the dude and puts one finger in his back and like one finger on his forehead. He's just like like breaks his neck. It's like okay.
I don't know, man. I don't know, dude.
I don't know about all that. But So what we see in the second movie on the sequel portion is Michael Corleone at this point no longer as much the like young, bright strategist that he was in the takeover of the first movie. He's become a little bit more power hungry in this one.
Paranoid,
He's still,
maybe.
He's
I guess
still.
that's later.
I don't want to say he's not the young strategist or whatever,
He's still
but he's very much
strategizing.
consumed by the power.
Yeah.
He's a very like his personality. He's become a much more volatile character.
He's wanting more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we get the prequel where Robert De Niro is playing a very, very young Vito Corleone. And that, I really, my favorite part of the second movie is actually the prequel portion. And
I would agree with that. Yeah.
I really like the...
I really dug Robert De Niro.
Especially
there.
because it's just like, oh shit. Like his mother and his brother were murdered when he was like 9 years old. And he's been on the run like the entire time and he turned it into a whole fucking empire.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
You know, that's very
Sure.
impressive.
And the other Don was going to murder him as a child too.
Yeah. I did not. I had not seen Godfather Part 2 until now, but I rewatching the first one and knowing that Robert De Niro was going to play the younger version of him in the second one, I did think they did a really good job on the casting.
Yeah,
because there
I
are
thought
some
that-
scenes where he definitely looks like he could be
Yeah.
played by Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
I think
thought
you
that
could,
too.
Yeah.
I think it'd be very easy to make the argument that it's the best performance of Robert De Niro's career.
That's possible. Yeah.
And honestly, I want to hit for a second. I'm going to go back to the first film. The use of Italian. I brought up the scene in the diner when he murders him.
There's a good
There's
several minutes where you don't know what
There-
they're saying.
there's a
You're just
scene-
speaking in Italian.
So Soloso turns to the police captain. He's like, "I'm going to speak Italian to Mike,"
But
and he's like, "I don't give a shit."
I thought it was
And-
funny how much of a threat the police captain was.
Yeah.
They were planning on him being, and then he
Right.
turns up to just be like the laziest, the most
Yeah.
just does not care about the
Yeah.
business going on.
Well, what I thought was interesting here is he's like, "I'm going to speak Italian to Mike," and he's like, "Yeah, that's fine. I don't care."
Yeah,
And like they start speaking Italian, and it's almost like he was telling us, you know, as the
Right.
viewers, is like, "We're going to speak Italian now. You're not going to know what the fuck we're saying," and they don't subtitle it, which is crazy because there's a lot of Italian in the movie, and they subtitle a lot of it.
yeah.
They purposely
Yeah,
don't
they chose not
subtitle
to,
that,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
I've seen the
No,
movie
and
a million times. They've never subtitled that
So-
portion.
That's one thing I actually wondered. Does Mike speak? Can he speak Italian?
Yeah,
he
he speaks
speaks
Italian
Italian.
to him
Did he speak Italian?
in,
Okay.
in that scene.
Okay. No, the last bit of dialogue from Mike, I really like that performance too, because like obviously the dude fired him up, and like that's when he like broke to go get the gun, and all he said was just like what I want, and then he fucking goes and gets the gun and like
yeah.
finishes the scene. Now there's some fantastic performances. Al Pacino is great, great in the movie. De Niro is fucking fantastic.
And there's a scene where he gets really in the second movie where Al Pacino gets really warmed up and he starts yelling and he's like, "There's Al Pacino."
Yeah. Oh yeah.
yeah,
No,
you know,
for
he's
sure.
just like, yeah, it's like
That's when Al Pacino became Al Pacino.
yeah,
That
like,
scene
that's-
right there.
yeah, it's great.
Now, Robert De Niro is definitely fantastic here, and just the whole character.
Yeah, and the scene, like you said, like when he guts the dude, when he guts the dude at the end, like
the final confrontation.
Yeah,
with
the final
Don that
final
murdered his-
confrontation of the prequel is him going back to Sicily, and the dude that murdered his brother and mother, who's like an old man now, can't like really see or
Can't
hear.
do anything.
Yeah,
Like,
he's
he's
been
pretty
invalid.
comical, you know.
Yeah, but like you just don't really see it coming to the extent, like, you know, he's probably there to settle the score,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like he just comes over and like kind of whispers in his ear, and they just like fucking sticks the knife in his gut, and then it's not like a just stab. It's more of like a stab and then pull the blade in like a V.
Yeah, no, it's
across his
yeah,
like gut.
He's
and chest.
flayed.
It's-
It's
Yeah.
flayed.
I was actually
Yeah,
disappointed.
Flayed.
I was like, oh man, he's too old. He doesn't know the justice that's being served.
No, he was pretty comical in that scene. He was a very just like turtly little tiny old man. Didn't know what the fuck was going on anymore. All of his staff didn't give a shit either. Like the whole
Yeah.
place was run down. Like nobody was.
Yeah,
nobody
it was
cared.
Father, this is my friend Vito Corleone. He's like, oh, and who are you?
Yeah. So one thing I dug through the movies was the portrayal of the Italian gangster bodyguard. It was always the same.
Yeah.
They always had a vest. They always had the driver cap. They had a fucking double barrel shotgun every time. From from the prequel story to the modern story, same thing.
Yep, it stayed the same. And then kind of the conclusion of the sequel portion is Pacino is trying to make the family legit, like they talk about.
He really does. Like I felt for him. He was trying very hard. Like I felt like he was trying.
Wait till you see The Godfather Part 3 and you see it's 30 years later and they're still trying to make it legit.
Yeah. Well, at that point they're not trying. I felt like he was trying. I really did feel for him because it would be a lot to do.
The third one actually has the most of the trying, where he kind of like spoiler alert, but he kind of like washes his hands of it and is just like, I just need to get out of it myself because it's just I can't. I've tried for years to make it legit and it's just not possible.
See,
and so he's just looking for like an exit himself.
That's the thing. It would be possible though. It would be so possible because you could just be like, hey, goon, here you go. And I'm going to take all this shit in my safe and go over here and start a bunch of businesses. Like, it's really the easiest thing in the world.
Michael Corleone, he knows too much. We got to take care of him.
So you have all this shit, I'm out.
That's like the whole thing with the mafia trope.
Yeah, you can't be out.
Leave.
Yeah, they always,
Well,
go to Alaska. Just go someplace they don't want to go.
Just lose your
they don't
identity.
want to go.
So the thing we need to talk about, I think, that we need to cover all of our bases here is the sequel portion of The Godfather Part 2, where that has to do with the assassination attempt on his life, where somebody shoots up his like bedroom.
Dude, that actually, like, I jumped. That jumped me because it was a very tense moment, and like I did not see exactly that coming, so I totally jumped. I got jump scared.
Yeah, and so that and the fallout, which was he knew that there had to be an inside man because like right before the gunshots, he's like, why are the blinds open?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it ends up being
was nice foreshadowing.
His brother Fredo, who accidentally set him up. As much as you could accidentally set somebody up to be murdered, his brother is so stupid that he accidentally, and I believe that he accidentally set him up. He had no idea what he was doing, and accidentally was so stupid that he lied about knowing the guys involved. Like, I don't know those guys, and then 2 hours later starts talking about them.
I'm just being asked.
Yeah,
it's just prompted once. All right. Yeah. I just thought of another. When we were watching the movie, we were talking about the anime parallels here with some of the characters and their presentation. This dude's another fucking reference there. The dude, you ever watch Neon Genesis Evangelion? The main character in that?
I will be watching.
The main character here. Yeah. Main character is the biggest fucking useless wet noodle ever.
He's Fredo.
He's Fredo, man. Feels so much like Fredo too.
That's such a diss to call somebody Fredo.
Just whines. Damn. Yeah, I think that anime character also became like an anime diss.
That's another iconic scene is the confrontation when he gives him the big wet kiss on the mouth. He's like, "I love you, Fredo. You broke my heart."
Yeah. No, that was a good scene too.
Yeah,
that's probably the most recognizable quote from the second movie.
Yeah.
I was blown away by how much more quotable or recognizable quotes were in the first movie compared to the second one.
Yeah.
And they are like, while the theme and the old world feel are the same, they are very different movies in that way. Like to me, it's like so that's been a conversation back to my Blockbuster days when we used to like nerd out about film all the time.
Right.
Because the American Film Institute had a hard time when they were coming up with the top 100 movies of all time. It was like a whole thing. What is actually the better movie? Is it The Godfather or The Godfather Part 2? And it's hard for me because I actually think in some ways that The Godfather Part 2 is a better movie, but I think The original Godfather is my favorite.
Yeah.
And it's, in a way, you can kind of come back to like, I mean, they try to set it up as if it's like Marlon Brando versus Robert De Niro because that's the key difference.
Yeah.
But
I don't care
it's
about
kind of
that
a hard way
at
to sell it. I mean, like, I think they are both the best part of each movie. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think regardless, the second one needs for the second one to be what it is. You need the first one.
yeah.
So I think they just have to exist simultaneously. In my mind.
The reality, it's just like one movie.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
When we watched the second one, it was nice that I got to watch them so close together.
Yeah.
because it
Yeah, I
felt
was really
so good.
looking forward to
Yeah.
I really don't know what happens in the sequel.
Yeah, and it felt
besides
so
a couple
smooth.
things, and I was
It
very
felt
excited to
smooth.
see what
It
happened
felt
next.
like you could just watch them together.
Yeah.
It'd be a bear, but again, that's why they did the thing they did in the past too. But yeah, no, they are seamless. So I don't know. I do think
and then
there's
the
better filmmaking.
the finale of the second film is when he actually finally takes the hard line and just has his brother whacked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the last scene is about 45 minutes away from the finish of Godfather Part 2. I thought, man, I can only see this going one way, and it's an old man sitting alone.
Yeah.
And the final scene is an old man sitting alone.
Yeah.
He survives everything and has done all this shit, and he's trying, and he's like,
But
fuck.
even when it had to go against
I'm
the family
tired.
at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is like for all the negativity surrounding The Godfather Part 3, it wasn't like
I'm super excited.
The thing is, The Godfather Part 3 is a film isn't bad. I talk shit about Andy Garcia. Andy Garcia got nominated for an Oscar for his performance in the film. Now Sofia Coppola really is bad, and she is excruciatingly bad.
She is in all 3 Godfather movies, by the way. So I believe she does play.
Yeah,
the
he
same
needed to
character
recast
in
it,
the
and he
first
wouldn't do
or
it
the
because
second.
it was his daughter, and he didn't want to admit that she had no talent.
Which,
well, in the first two, she was just like,
She was a young girl. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if she played the same character in both, but in the second one, I'm pretty sure she played the same character she plays.
okay.
I
in the third
guarantee
one.
you she plays the same. That makes so much sense to me.
But I mean, it scared her off from acting for sure because
Well, she's not good at it.
I think she definitely went to
fucking
directing.
She's
much. I mean, I haven't seen this movie, but I will say she's a much better director than she is an actress because I love her movies.
the reason I brought up The Godfather Part 3 is because we were talking about him having Fredo killed at the end of The Godfather Part 2. That is very much a constant subject in The Godfather Part 3.
Yeah,
It's his that haunts him. Moving forward in his life, that's the one that he would take back.
interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna also we've talked about this, but a couple years ago, Coppola put out a re-edit of the definitive edit. He calls it The Godfather Redux, The Godfather Part 3 Redux. I don't know exactly how different it is, but it's a different cut of the movie, and I think that's the one I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
If that's the one that has a higher chance of being good, I'd rather just go straight to that one.
It's going to have the same problems that the other one did because he's not going to edit his fucking daughter out of the movie.
You don't know. He could
He
CGI
can't.
her.
The problem is his daughter's
He's a
too
friend of
fucking
George
important
Lucas's.
in the movie, and that's really where he screwed up. If she goes to being kind of a central key figure of the movie, you need a really good actress in that role, and he got just some chick.
Who do you think would have been a good for the time? I guess I'm not extremely great with actors in the 1990 is when it came out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know who would have been a contemporary then.
Fucking my chick from My Cousin Vinny. Come on.
Oh yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
Honestly, it's kind of surprising she's not in it. Maybe she'd be too old at the time.
No.
Vinny was mid 80s, right? And she's already playing an adult. I guess I don't know how old the character is.
Yeah, but she looked like a kid
Well,
when she was playing an adult.
The character's in her 30s, right?
Yeah. The character is probably in her mid to late 20s.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm gonna say probably late 20s, and
That's
dude, she could play that today.
yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's one of those people that's aged really well.
She could play a late 20s, basically in the bedroom. She basically played a late 20s in that somehow.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And she was in her late 40s.
No, that would. I mean, that would be very, very good casting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
I'm excited
we,
for it.
We should watch The Godfather
Yeah.
Part 3 probably at some point to
Yeah.
close the book on this.
For
But
sure.
It's less than 3 hours long.
it is less than
Nice.
3 hours. Al Pacino is very Al Pacino. There's actually still very quotable things
Yeah.
Yeah.
in The Godfather Part 3. Like they always make quotable. And it also it had Bridget Fonda in it randomly for like no reason. Like her character was like not really connected to anything like in previous
Just wanna be a
Godfather.
part of it.
She's just like some new character that just shows up and pokes her nose around, and it's kind of annoying. But anyway,
Anywho,
I think that's gonna
that'll
close the
do.
book on the
Yeah.
features.
Yeah, I think they were my final words. They were, you can't deny them.
Yeah,
There's no.
it's epic.
It's
I will
epic.
say,
It's epic as fuck. It's
I-
super epic.
I was a little surprised at the that this is such a heated topic of is Godfather 2 one of the best sequels of all time as
Right.
far as topping the original.
Mm.
I thought the first one was pretty clearly the more as far as like a movie, a standalone movie. The first one I thought was far superior. But as a whole, the two together, I really
Yeah.
liked.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
If there's any Game of Thrones, any nerds out there that have never watched a
Yeah.
gangster movie, if you like Game of Thrones, buddy, you like this.
If
Like, it's epic
this
as
is like,
fuck.
hey, if you're
That's the
tired of playing Ravnica, you should come play Streets of New Capenna.
I also want to
Yeah.
I meant to mention this earlier,
No, this is epic
but
as
I know
shit.
there are a lot of people that were really into Game of Thrones, and the ending to the season, the way it was rushed and fucked up, really soured them on it. The current HBO series House of the Dragon, which is like a Game of Thrones variant, is like, I know we talked about the dick sucking scene like a couple weeks ago, but
yeah.
it's fun on. I
this-
did watch
this-
it. It's fun on.
this
TikTok.
series is like
It's not even like a still
everything-
shot. It's like
this series is everything that you want. Person who was disappointed at the ending to Game of Thrones. This series is everything that you want. You should watch it.
that's frustrating though, because like if they did this, then they totally could have just done it before.
It's just like this series is just like it's early season Game of Thrones shit, and like there's no pulling away from early season Game of Thrones shit.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
they're
for sure.
they're stuck there with the
Yeah.
plot, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's fucking awesome. And there are way more dragons, and it's brutal.
Good.
Yeah, like dragons are fucking everywhere. You know, it's the whole thing. It's like military strategy, and it's just like, yeah, but they got the big fucking dragon over there. What are we gonna do about that?
Yeah,
they got
it's
the
pretty,
big one.
It's pretty impossible.
We've got more, but they got the huge one. You
Yeah.
know, like
just any amount of dragon. I watched that the Netflix movie Damsel.
Yeah.
And like the opening scene is this king and his knights riding to slay a dragon, and he like rolls up in his fucking cave and like, we're gonna kill you, dragon. And then it's just like, I'm a fucking dragon, dude. Flat. You're dead. Like, just rolls out, burns him alive. It's like, yeah, I'm a dragon.
I really hated the Hobbit trilogy, but I thought they actually did really good.
They did good with Smaug. They did
I
a
thought
good
Smaug's
job with
pretty
Smaug.
awesome.
I hated that it was a trilogy.
Yeah,
It
that was
shouldn't have
terrible.
been.
It could have been like 2 movies, but what
It-
do you call that? A
it-
duology?
Shouldn't it? They should have put the real ending at the Lord of the Rings. If they're
Yeah.
gonna make the Hobbit 3 fucking movies, they should have
Okay,
just
well,
given Lord of the
admittedly-
Rings the real fucking ending.
Admittedly, if those Lord of the Rings movies were made now, it would be 9 movies. It would not be 3 movies.
Probably.
Yeah. Well, when they remake it
Yeah.
or do a series or whatever,
They need to do a
that's the way it
series.
should-
We're getting
I
it
mean, they have
animated.
it.
Do you know we're getting in
Yes,
the night
it's a
the
story.
Riders of Rohan?
A story from it's like the setup for Rohan.
Yeah.
yeah, that's exciting.
That's coming out like I think
It's
this year.
probably gonna be badass.
All right, so we just have a couple more things to. Whose pick is it? Is it Reese?
I guess it's
It
mine.
is.
Okay.
So movies.
So
and
tell
then
us
pick.
what to go to theaters to see, and I'm going to be listening hard on this one because I've got the week off, and so I
Ooh.
kind of want to take the wife out tomorrow. So what should we go see?
Honestly, it's not a bad week. Coming out Friday, we have Twisters, which, you
I'd
know,
watch that.
say whatever you will.
I'd watch it. I'd watch
It
in a
looks
heartbeat.
really fun.
It's probably fun. You know what was fun? Twister. Twister was
Twister.
fun. It was a fucking fun movie.
I think this movie is going to break. Like, I think this movie is going to like shoot to the highest grossing movie of the year so far.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make so much money because it is like it's hitting nostalgia people. It's hitting people who want to watch action. It's people who are tired of superhero movies.
People
Yeah,
love
no.
disaster.
Yeah.
It's super. Yeah, no,
films.
it's timed really well because everything has gotten really stale. Like this hasn't been done for a minute.
Yeah. Now, if you know, there's been some tornado warnings around our area
Oh,
recently.
yeah.
It might not hit to some people great, but it's gonna do good in the box office.
Oh, Molly does like. So she's from like she's terrified of tornado. Like anytime there's tornado watches or like I don't care. You know, like
Yeah.
I say this all the time. My mom's house got hit by a tornado. Like the odds that I'm gonna get hit by a tornado are like so low right now. She's basically set up my entire family for a lifetime. Like, is there ever been a family in history that like two different members have gotten hit by two different
So
tornadoes? I don't think so.
if there was a reason that a human being along the way could have been like, shit, maybe there is a god. Like it would have been like when a dude's fucking farming and like looks over and oh fuck, my house is gone.
Something is
Fuck,
lifting
maybe
my
that-
house into the
Yeah.
air.
Please
What?
don't kill me. I'll pray to you.
So okay, for
Some
Christian
ghosts.
Christian movies of the week, we have Sound of Hope.
Do we
the
have,
story
do we
of
have to do
Awesome
this part?
Trot.
Like,
Hey,
can we
they're
just
in
can we,
there.
Okay.
Hey, we might have
can we just
Christian
skip
listeners
the
that wanna watch some
Warsaw
good old
Christian movie?
movies.
Was it-
we can. We
the
can.
movie was made in like Goshen or something, right? Like we.
I mean, they
No,
always
probably.
have someone like what's his name who played Hercules or some
Yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Some like washed out actor from the 90s.
Who's
Billy
the,
Zane.
the guy
I
was
bet
the,
Billy Zane's in
Yeah.
some fucking
the guy that was in
Christian
Growing Pains is
Yeah, he's another one.
I can't even remember his fucking name.
Yeah,
you guys
and
know what I'm talking about.
We should forget their names, but like
Yeah.
they're doing shit like this. It's called Disciples in the Moonlight, where they're obviously trying to trick people
Into thinking it's an
into
action
thinking
film.
It's not a Christian movie,
Yeah.
but it is called Disciples. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It looks like the new Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
But it's called Disciples.
There are
Which
Christian
there
movies
could
in
be a
theater.
Star Wars movie called Disciples, and it
Yeah,
would
it could be.
fit.
Yeah, I think there's a show. Is that what it
The
is?
Acolyte is right
The
now.
Acolyte? Okay. Yeah, same fucking thing. That's a synonym.
Inside Out 2 still in theaters. Despicable Me 4 still in theaters.
Yeah, Alicia said that was terrible. She watched it at the drive-in. She's like, that was awful.
To the drive-in?
Yeah, there's a drive-in. somewhere
In,
near.
Plymouth probably. What
It's
was,
I think it's about an hour
There's
away.
a couple. There's two.
Wabash,
there.
I think, has one.
Kinda
what was
close.
the other film that she saw? Because it's always a double feature at the drive-in. Did they watch the second film?
No, she didn't.
Bummer. Quiet Place Day 1 is still in theaters. Horizon,
Curious.
An American Saga is still in theaters. Part 1, Chapter 1, whatever. Bad Boys Ride or Die is for some reason back in theaters. It
Back?
left and it's back. I
Back?
don't know why.
Okay. All right.
Last week a historical fiction rom-com called Fly Me to the Moon came out.
Mhm.
Have you heard about this?
Okay.
It might be cute, but I've heard
Or did I?
mixed things.
What's the period? Is
Wait,
it
who's the
period?
director? It's somebody. There's somebody in this, right? Or this
It's Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. The plot is
Johansson.
an alternate history where NASA is preparing to film a fake moon landing in case the real moon landing fails, and they need a cover-up.
Yeah, I'd probably
Yeah,
watch that. I'd watch
That's
that.
such
That
a
sounds
more
alright.
interesting concept than half the fucking shit
But
I
it's
watch
like
these
a
days.
it's like a cutesy like romance
Yeah,
thing. I don't know.
No, it is probably, but I don't know. I don't know. I'd watch it.
Okay,
I'd watch it.
You said Scarlett Johansson. I'm kind of
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch pretty
much.
much anything Scarlett
Yeah.
Johansson's in. She's
I mean, it might.
pretty
Yeah,
fantastic.
I also honestly really like Channing Tatum too.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with Channing Tatum at all either.
That does remind me of a movie. Let me find this real quick. It's very similar plot, but it's like a
Channing
low budget.
Tatum, I feel like, is always good, but nobody's ever going to cast him in anything serious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
like I feel like he does a good job.
Well, did you
of being
see that
professional and,
that
like,
wrestling movie? The with like
I did not.
Michael Scott in it.
No,
I did-
I missed that one.
Ugh. It's based on a true story of the billionaire guy who
okay.
like killed or is responsible for the murder of Olympic athlete. It's got Mark Ruffalo, Channing Tatum, and the guy who plays Michael Scott. I'm blanking on his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's really good.
Yeah. No, I do. I think Channing Tatum's solid. When you see him, he's solid. Like he's kind of like
I think he's better than like what
handsome
anybody
guy.
takes him. Like,
Yes,
because
definitely.
he's just handsome guy. Like,
yeah,
he's,
Yeah.
The moment where I kind of like, no, I finally got around to watching that fucking goofy ass This Is the End movie.
Yeah.
And like the fact that he is okay with being Danny McBride's fucking gimp.
More
I
than-
was like, you know what? No matter what, I haven't seen him in that many things, but I kind of tip my hat that you're gonna like be Danny McBride.
More like Channing Tatum.
Dude,
yeah,
that's
post-apocalyptic.
this is the
gimp.
end is just like a
Uh,
island of misfit toys for all of Hollywood's not elite.
Dude, it was pretty fun when I finally got around to watching.
If you like the sound of that plot, I do highly recommend this really low budget mockumentary called Operation Avalanche.
Okay.
It's kind of like found footage, but set in the 1960s.
I hope
It's really good.
yeah, I want to watch that, but I hope not like a lot of found footagey. Right?
It's
It can get so tiresome if it's done wrong.
it's like these guys working on this project, and there's people already around with cameras and stuff.
so sometimes you
So
catch.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm cool with that. Yeah.
It's good. Okay, Fly Me to the Moon. Also, surprisingly, I feel like I have to rush to see this because I can't imagine it's going to stay very long. It came to Warsaw, Long Legs.
Oh yeah,
horror movie?
yeah.
I want to
should-
see that, but that's not an option.
Should watch.
No. And then
Yeah, and honestly, like definitely, I want to see that because I just watched another horror that he was just in, and it was like
Yeah.
super satisfying. So like, yeah, let's go.
yeah, I
There's a lot of hype
really
around
want to
this
see
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hype.
it. Actually, I think that's it. So
Yeah.
Twisters, Bad Boys,
that's it.
Despicable Me, Long Legs, Fly Me to the Moon, which might be your choice for tomorrow night.
I think it's probably going to be the Twisters movie or
Dude, Twisters will
something
be
else you said that.
Quiet Place.
fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Inside Out too.
Quiet Place.
I'm
could be good.
intrigued on Quiet Place too.
I will say, if you're going to the theater tomorrow, Thelma is still playing.
Oh, okay.
Super
Oh,
recommend.
Yeah,
actually,
yeah.
if that is still playing at a decent hour, that is probably
Never mind.
You're playing at like-
1:15. Do you have 1:15 available?
I probably won't be up by then.
And then Maxine is still showing tomorrow, and so I'm really hoping to see that.
That's Ty West, right? Like,
Yeah, it's the sequel to Pearl and X, or X and Pearl.
Good God.
Sequel or prequel? Prequel?
It's a sequel.
Oh, okay.
Pearl was
was
the
a
prequel.
prequel.
Oh, okay.
Dude, they fucked it. He fucked this all up, man. Like, this is just bad business.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not in the know, then like you're never gonna know.
That's probably why it's got kind of mixed reviews. I'm still very excited for it because, like,
A lot of
I know
people
exactly
just,
what I'm
like.
I saw the
If you're
trailer,
not
and the trailer
familiar,
looked very good. And I haven't seen any of the shit.
Yeah.
So I mean,
it's very possible somebody could be very into horror and not know who the fuck Ty West is, and so they would not even know that this was the third movie in a franchise
That's
because
true.
all three movies have a completely different name.
Yeah, I am pretty much in favor of asking audiences to do a smidge of research. You know, that way we can avoid people getting pissed off because they walked into an R-rated superhero movie.
Sure,
You know, do
sure.
5 minutes of research on a movie,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's going to be for your benefit.
I'm like, this isn't even a research thing. This is like, I like horror, and like this was the only horror movie playing at my theater, so I went and saw it. And
Yeah.
it didn't make any sense. Oh, it was the third movie in the franchise. How would I know that?
Yeah.
It was called Maxine. That's a one word.
Yeah,
Oh, that's the whole thing that they do. You know, the first movie only had one letter. You know.
Yeah, just put a fucking colon on there, man. Somewhere.
Yeah.
Start it with a colon.
well, I think Pearl should have had 2 X's in the title. That's my only problem. It doesn't have any X's. What's the theme here? Because they're not names. X is not a name.
Right.
X, really, how they should have fixed it is rename X.
Yeah.
It needed to be someone's name. Yes.
We need to rename. Just do it right the first time.
So I am almost certainly going to the theater tomorrow to see Maxine, because if not, I will miss it in theaters. Yeah.
All right.
But it's honestly a good time for horror in theaters. Long Legs, Maxine, and Quiet Place.
It's a much better lineup in general for the theater that we've had for a little while.
It is, I
We
think.
had some pretty shitty weeks.
Yeah.
What was
Yeah.
playing. So this
We're starting to get into
actually
the
feels
summer,
okay.
the summer
Yeah.
stuff.
And before next episode, Deadpool and Wolverine will be coming out.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna see it.
I'm
I don't know if
I'm
it'll
definitely
be
gonna
good.
see
I'm
it.
gonna watch it at some point.
Yeah.
I'm not enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be hilarious, and I'll laugh, and it'll be a good popcorn flick to go see at the
Yeah.
theater. All that stuff
For
is
sure.
true, but like I just am not. It's hard to get up for anything Marvel right now.
You know what we are exactly 1 month away from? It's Alien Romulus.
That's what I'm fucking talking about.
John's
I don't know
been
if you
talking
guys
about
have
that for a
seen
while.
the recent trailers of this, but it looks fucking
I saw an
insane.
amazing trailer.
I kind of
I saw an amazing trailer.
We
of
saw
it.
watched that
That was bad.
Gladiator
The
2
was
trailer.
not great. Yeah.
I think you could
I like
watch.
teasers. I don't like trailers. Don't show me the whole fucking movie.
You could watch this Alien trailer and just turn the volume off, and it'd be a pretty awesome trailer.
Okay.
But I mean, I watched it with the volume. You know, I don't
Yeah.
think
No,
it does
it's-
not like overstay its welcome.
No, it's really solid. I'm super
The-
super excited for that.
Yeah.
It's
The
gonna be
Gladiator
back to what it's supposed to
2
be.
trailer is like a rom-com trailer where I could literally write the fucking script off of that trailer.
For sure.
I mean,
No,
it didn't feel like any more elevated than like a fucking Dwayne the Rock Johnson action
No.
movie. I looked very disappointing.
Yeah, it doesn't look, and it's the same
it
shit.
could not be. It could be good,
There
but like
could- I
the
think
trailer, that you didn't need to show me the whole movie.
I think that
that's
there
my-
could be some good performances that are worth watching.
Yeah,
But
I
you've
do
seen
like
the
the
movie.
cast.
The cast is good.
Yeah, the cast is good, and I think it'd be worth it to watch the performances of them. But you know what it is? It's the same fucking movies before anyway.
Yeah,
Gladiator guy fucking gets an emperor. Like
yeah.
you know what it's gonna be, so you do know the whole movie. Yeah, they should not have.
I do
went
know the
so
whole movie
deep
because I
on
saw the trailer. And
Yeah, they shouldn't have gone with knowing that it's already
he
that
was a
set up.
child when
Yeah, they should have
when the
like made
original
they should have
happened
made the
and
trailer so
inspired.
sparse and just like
Yeah.
much more of a teaser. But
Another Ridley Scott joint.
yeah,
Ridley
he
Scott's
lost
like
his
so
shit.
hit or miss, man. I don't think he ever lost his shit. I think he's just always been kind of hit or miss.
Just hit or miss.
He just feels
okay,
lazy to me.
No, hit or miss is fine.
Like,
I think
I feel like I don't know what to expect when I go to see a Ridley Scott film. It could be great. It could be shit. I don't know.
I think at this point in his career, I think he's gotten a little too comfortable with his status and is not
Yes.
taking risks or
Yeah.
doing like challenging himself.
I totally agree with that. Like he's just gotten to a state of stagnation and
Yeah.
just redundancy. Like his
I think
shit's
doing
just-
a
like
doing a sequel to
Gladiator,
the
this is-
Gladiator is kind of a risk. I mean,
Is it though?
it is, man. You're doing a sequel to something you have nothing to build off of. You don't have any characters. Like, I mean, it's possible they've somehow pulled a character or two
Yeah,
from
but
probably not.
The base premise though is like you just insert characters and it's like you have the story, like you have the framework.
Yeah.
Because the characters are changing. It's it's the Colosseum, like
Yeah.
emperors. It's all known.
It just
it's
feels
in Rome,
like-
it's familiar. Like
If Braveheart 2 was coming out, I have no idea what the plot would be, but I know it would make a shit ton of money. Like,
yeah, I think that
I
there's
would
enough.
not go see a movie called Braveheart 2. It wouldn't make
Braveheart 2 really.
It wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, that one really does.
It's the difference between a historical thing and not so much a historical.
the
Yeah.
tagline is,
Yeah.
he got his freedom, and now he's back for more.
Yeah, he got reanimated by a fucking druid in the swamp.
He has a slingshot of his like innards.
Dude, that would be dope. Let's see that.
Braveheart, Army of Darkness.
Yes.
You could
All
call
right.
it Braveheart 2, Brave Harder.
That sounds wonderful.
Okay, so my
Uh,
movie.
yes.
is- I'm doing a double feature.
Oh, shit.
The theme here is these are both real low budget comedy drama movies that I discovered during the pandemic. They came out during the pandemic, and they were just movies I honestly probably wouldn't have seen without those circumstances.
Right.
Because they're movies that like really did well on the fact that people were home looking for new interesting movies
Yeah.
to watch, and these showed up on Vudu for real cheap. So I really enjoy both of them. The first one is The Wolf of Snow Hollow.
Ooh, yeah.
Have you seen this one?
The fucking main character is like the son of the chief who's
Yes.
becoming the chief. Yeah, super great movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, and this unfortunately is not streaming
that's a
anywhere.
great one.
You'll have to buy it on Vudu or whatever. And then the second one is called The Kid Detective.
Didn't see that one.
It's a very unique movie. It's like if you're ever familiar with the books Encyclopedia Brown. It's like a
Off the title, I would never watch that movie.
it's
Just letting you know, I would never watch a movie called The Kid Detective
well,
if you
if
weren't
you
making
saw
one.
like the poster or something, you definitely would.
Yeah.
And if
That's a really bad
I'll
title.
give like 2 sentences, and you're gonna be wanting to watch it.
All right. let's do it.
If you imagine like a book series like Encyclopedia Brown, which is about a cutesy kid detective.
Right.
This is like 20 years later. He's a washed up has been.
Okay.
But it's also like a.
So he's not actually a kid.
No, he's not a kid.
No, he's a washed up piece of shit that never made it as a kid. That was a
Yeah.
kid detective, and his life
the
fizzled
golden
out.
child, and now he's
Yeah.
like he's known
Yeah.
for being talented when he was a kid.
Yeah.
Very,
Yeah.
very
I
interesting.
can see that
movie.
as a cool drama. Yeah. Sure.
And they're both about an hour 40.
Nice.
So it'll be a real breezy double feature.
Okay.
Looking forward
Hell
to it.
yeah.
And that one is streaming on Stars.
That-
Otherwise, it's available.
The
to
other
buy.
one, with the Wolf movie, was on Shudder at one point. That's where I caught it.
It must have gone off.
Rotated
Is it a
out.
horror movie?
Thriller.
Yes, it's a thriller verging on horror. There's horror elements. It's a thriller with horror elements, and then you watch the movie and it is what it is. Yeah.
So yeah,
All right.
there you
Thanks
go.
for tuning in.
And also, we wanted to point out, it probably doesn't matter, but it will be an extra week before
Yes.
episode
There will be a delay.
33 drops.
Yes.
Stay tuned to Take Action Tattoo's Facebook page and
Yeah,
Brown's first
we
on
will
Facebook page.
keep you up to date with everything you need to know.
Absolutely.
All right, that's going to do it. Peace out.